evening, everyone. Welcome to our PBUSD board meeting. We do have translation in Spanish, and if you need that support, please see Urania Lopez. So, tenemos traducción en español. Si necesita de este servicio, por favor, pase con Urania Lopez. If you would like to speak to an item on the agenda, please complete a speaker card and then hand it to Eva Renteria prior to the start of the agenda item. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak on that item. I'm going to ask our newest trustee, Olivia Flores, to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like, so Dr. Rodriguez, do you have any comments?
Thank you so much. So I hope everyone is well after the storms. I want to appreciate so many of the staff that did really valiant work while we were closed and moving forward. So as you may or may not know, the parking lot here flooded 3 times. And so each one of those times, the first one on New Year's Eve, we were out here sandbagging to make sure that it was going to work and no water was going to get in here. And I want to thank Clint Rucker, Gerardo Fernandez, and Sergio Umbris for really doing really admirable work. So Sergio, and everybody calls him Sergio, I'm sorry, because of speaking Spanish, I always call him Sergio, but Sergio and Herlindo worked 24/7 for 2 weeks. So they took turns, but they were up every single night, giving me, Clint, and Allison text every 90 minutes or so. And so we did that so that we knew the conditions of our locations. And then we had more than 20 M&O workers who are here one of the 3 times, or sometimes all the 3 times, helping with the mud. Our bus drivers on Tuesday, when everybody else was away, did come and help us take all of our buses and take them from the bus yard to PVHS so that we made sure that we secured our buses. And so I appreciate the work that they did there. And then our custodial and our food service workers, they worked regardless to make sure that our facilities were up and running and that our children still was able to receive food. So our food service workers not only, so I want to recognize Sandra, Jeannie, our director, and also Carlos, who's another supervisor, because they provided meals at the evacuation center, both Cesar Chavez, when that was an evacuation center, and then also the fairgrounds. And then lastly, because we had schools closed for a significant amount of time, they provided 3 meals outside of the wellness center. So they provided a breakfast, a lunch, and a supper. And each time we had over 100 families that came to pick up those meals. So I hope everyone is well. We are supporting the FEMA. They don't have as many workers as we can, so we're going to be supporting the FEMA that is by Ramsey Park. And Alicia is even giving up her Saturday this Saturday to be there. So appreciate everyone and hope you've been safe.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 3.4, our governing board comments and reports on standing committees. And this is the opportunity for each board member to make comments. And I will start with our student trustee. Muriel, did you have anything you would like to say?
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. It feels really great to be back. We have definitely been through some uncertain times recently, but I thank everyone in the district and everyone in the city for their swift actions and continual support offered to both students and their families. And yeah, I look forward to settling into and making the most out of this last half of the school year. Thank you.
Trustee DeSerpa?
Hello there, and Happy New Year. Our hearts go out to all the families and people that are affected by the recent rain that we've had. I know my house got a little bit flooded and our road slid out into the creek, and so we've had some very interesting times in my neck of the woods. And Moriel, you said it beautifully. Thank you to everybody in the community who's been pitching in and helping, especially to our staff here. This last couple of weeks, I've been to a Pajaro Valley Prevention and Student Assistance meeting, and I did miss the DLAC meeting that started at 4 o'clock because I had a conflict. I had the PVPSA meeting, but I'll try to get there in the future. So thank you.
Trustee Soto?
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and thank you for attending tonight. As Dr. Rodriguez stated, I want to extend a hearty thank you to the staff that, I don't want to say kept this place afloat because that's what we were trying to prevent, but kept everything dry and water at bay. For the community of Pajaro, we were hugely impacted. I was hugely impacted because I had 3 roads around my house that were closed off, and I actually had a tree come down on my house, and the storms were unprecedented, something I'd never seen, not to that magnitude, but the Monterey County Sheriff, the OES, they took their measures to make sure everybody was safe, even though it was precautionary, and we didn't even have to breach the levee or worry about rising waters in the streets, but it was a good collaborative effort across the board. So thank you and Happy New Year.
Trustee Dodge Jr.?
Good evening, everybody. Happy 2023. It was a busy, interesting, sad time. The storms on New Year's Eve, everything that I've seen and everything that the people had to do, the city, the county, how we had to work together to make sure there was enough sandbanks. And, I'm glad, I'm kind of saddened of what happened, to the people that lived in Trustee Acosta's area who were really affected and flooded. I hope the people that can find the services. So I know the Community Action Board is trying to help people with whatever, cleaning supplies and reimbursements for people that stay in hotels. And I hope people can find those services. The FEMA truck, the positivity and all this. I was able to see the Watsonville High soccer team, their first game. I was able to pass by the orientation they had. I know they recently opened a little store, a storage container where the players can meet during halftime. And I just wanted to say thank you to the bus drivers, the custodians, the food service workers who were out there. I saw them during the high winds. I know the bus drivers were out there, and I just wanted to say thank you, to the classified workers who've always been there through thick and thin, ups and downs, and I just wanted to show my appreciation. A lot of classified workers are my neighbors, people that I grew up with, and so there's a lot of names, but they know how much I appreciate them, how much we appreciate them, and I just wanted to say thank you, guys.
Trustee Flores?
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm new to this board, and I look forward to being able to do my part to help our community to make PVUSD the best it can be. And so far, this year, like a lot of the beginning of the year was, of course, focused on what was going on in our community. And I must say I'm very proud of Watsonville and Pajaro and how we all pulled together to help everyone in need. It was very heartwarming to see us all come together, and thank you to all who did help. On Martin Luther King Day, I was able to go to Starlight and help with the Live Like Coco Foundation book sorting. That was a lot of fun. While I was there, I was able to meet Ms. Medina, and I was able to tour the kitchen and the garden, so that was really exciting for me. I plan on visiting all my schools in my area and then some, because as being on this board, I'm here for every single school in this district. I also was able to attend the Green Team meeting yesterday. That was the first time I've been able to attend that, and I look forward to being able to help on that committee. And I just thank you all for letting me be here.
Thank you. Vice President Acosta?
Thank you, President Holm. It's going to sound like a complete reiteration of what so many of my colleagues have already said. As Trustee Soto said, this has been an unprecedented weather season for us in this area. My heart and my deepest empathy goes out to all of our community. We're all in this together. So many, as Trustee Dodge Jr. said, were very heavily hard hit in my trustee area, and my heart goes out in empathy, and I'm hoping for quick recoveries to everyone that's been adversely affected by this. Again, these were unprecedented times, an unprecedented storm, and I know that there's been some that have lashed at our county leaders, our city leaders and district leaders, and understanding that it's unfortunate that it takes something like this to go through, that it sometimes holds itself as a live and learn experience. And hopefully we come out on that other side of that with having learned and can do things better in the future. But given, again, the uncertainty of the time that and what it presented to us was just unprecedented. Sorry. And again, also, welcome. Happy New Year. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to the second half of our 2022-2023 school year here at Pajaro Valley Unified School District. Our Intergovernmental Relation Committee meeting that was scheduled for December was canceled. I do believe not on our part, but nonetheless it was canceled. I did have the opportunity to attend today with Clint and his staff and team, our safety committee meeting. Some really good work that Clint and his team are doing out of there. We had an update on injuries and preventative measures that the district is looking to take, and also on M&O training that's coming up that had to be canceled because of the storms. And also we had some discussion about stuff that we as a board had decided on some time ago about what's going on with our security and the doors here at the district office. We're having some slowness with it, but it is moving. It's kind of slow like molasses, but I did ask Clint, and I'll bring it to the Agenda Setting Committee. Maybe we will have a report coming forward to the board and for the community about what's going on with that, to let you know we are moving forward. The district is moving forward with that, and that's great. While we do want to ensure, as a board, our decision back then was to ensure public access to the district office, we also have a high priority of ensuring our safety of all of our employees. So great to see the work y'all are doing in that team. Thanks, Clint, for inviting me in. And I think it's Willie Hero may have been the last one to have sat on that committee, so it's been a minute since we had a trustee there. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. I wanted to also acknowledge teachers and students who worked diligently to clear some of the debris from the first round of storms in the Rio Flats area, and that helped mitigate some of the future, or the storms, that came afterwards from the flooding, and reduce some of the damage that could have been, by the rains and flooding that happened after that. So thank you for all of the teachers and students that helped out the families down in the Rio Flats area. It's much appreciated by the people who live down there. I attended an Arts Council meeting where we discussed the Spectra Arts program as a way to create resiliency with arts education even during times of state and federal funding scarcity. And the arts, we talked a lot about arts as a way to kind of get through difficult times and, express and find sources of healing. I also went on a site visit at H.A. Hyde Elementary to see one of the after-school arts programs in action. It was a blast to see students creating their own designs for a block print, and brought home how arts education really integrates so many other areas of learning, spatial awareness, fine and gross motor skills, even math and reading. And watching how engaged the students are reinforces the importance of supporting arts and music, in our schools. I also want to acknowledge the donations from the following for the LaGrassi Culinary Teaching and Garden Kitchen. We had an anonymous donation for $360. Driscoll's Incorporated donated $121,625. Monterey Peninsula Foundation donated $50,000. American Ag Credit donated $25,000. Abby Glines donated $300. Michelle Montalvo donated $150. Lucas Flowers donated $1,500. Sam Cooley donated $450. And Adriana Gutierrez donated $300. That's a total of $199,685. It's a good amount, a great amount, a fantastic amount. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to that fantastic project. All right, moving on to agenda item 3.5, our high school student board representatives report. Do we have students from Watsonville High School?
And then will I have to control the slideshow with this? Okay, sounds good. Okay. Good evening, board trustees and Superintendent Dr. Michelle Rodriguez. My name is Brooklyn Llamas, and I'm here on behalf of Watsonville High School as a board representative. As prom season is approaching, the cats are clawing their way to an unforgettable night. Our first meeting for prom committee will happen Wednesday, February 1st after school in room K107, where all the magic happens. We will be discussing themes, prom decorations, and logistics. As of right now, we did post a Google form, and we are neck and neck with Cats Gala and Masquerade Ball. February 3rd, we will have the Royal Hearts Dance. We'll have a live banda, DJ, photo booth, and taco trucks. Did I mention Jerry Tacos will be there? Come out and support your local vendors. The dance will happen from 6:30 to 11 p.m. in the cafeteria. Our tickets are starting at $10. We do sell in K107 during breaks, lunch, and after school. February 6th through the 10th is our Counselor Appreciation Week. This week is dedicated to our academic counselors at Watsonville High School. It is flower themed. Together we lift up. Gifts and goodie bags are all being made and distributed by ASB, and we will be decorating the counselors' office doors. February 10th is our spring rally in the new gym. Music, games, and prizes will all be provided. Now moving on to our Royal Heart Spirit Week, which is February 14th through the 17th. Tuesday is Twin Tuesday. You can match with your friends or significant other. On Wednesdays we wear pink or black, inspired by Mean Girls, our very own Regina George or Wednesday Addams. Thursday is Love Your Jersey. You'll catch me in my Dodgers jersey. Friday is Heartbreak Thursday. You can either decide to dress up or dress down. After school, we will be providing an ice cream social and movie. February is Black History Month. We will be posting infographic posts on our Instagram and staff appreciation spotlights. Now moving on to athletics. Our senior nights, both boys basketball and boys soccer, will happen Wednesday, February 8th. Girls basketball will take place Monday, February 13th, and girls soccer Thursday, February 9th. Now moving on to academics. Our SLC recruitment days will happen tomorrow and Friday. These are information sessions held for all 9th grade students. These are presented by our academies and pathways. Bata, Esner, Echo, Mosaic, Health, Video, and auto repair will all be putting on activities and presentations. Have a roar-tastic night. Thank you.
Thank you. And we don't, no other student speakers? Okay, great.
That was easy.
All I know is we're going home, so please don't let me go. Don't let me go. And if it's right, I don't care how long it takes. As long as I'm with you, I've got a smile on my face. Save your tears, it'll be okay. All I know is you're here with me.
So that was just a quick little video that I wanted to show because Watsonville High was put on kind of like a leave, so we had an extra week that because of the flooding and everything around our school, we were in the evacuation zone, and that video, although it was like pretty insignificant despite everything, it really like was a light in the dark in the dark tunnel, and I may or may not have been in that suit. But we went over to the campus and we just felt like our school needed it, and I'm glad that the response was so great about the video. So
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Item 4.1, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve our agenda tonight.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to item 5.1, approval of the December 7th, 2022 board meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve December 14th, 2022 board meeting minutes.
December 7th?
The 7th first.
Oh, are we doing this? I'm so sorry. December 7th first, 2022 board meeting minutes.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? For,
Olivia can technically vote as long as she read them.
okay, great, all right. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Approval of the December 14th, 2022 board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve December 14th, 2022 board meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, moving on to item 6.1, public comments. So this is an opportunity for our members of the public to address issues that are not on our agenda for the evening. So just know that even though the Brown Act prohibits the board from engaging in, discussion for non-agendized items, we are listening. So do we have any public comments?
Yes, we do. And I just would like to confirm with Mary Jo Silva, you do want to speak at 7.1, not 6.1, if she's in the room? Okay, just wanted to confirm. Thank you. Okay. So with that, we have 5. and I'll call out the first three by name. If you could come up to the podium in that order and line up, that'd be great. Martha Belayich, Chris Webb, and Donna Lefevre.
Hit this button. There we go. Members of the board, my name is Marta Belayich. In 2008, the Pajaro Valley School Board authorized the establishment of the Saba Charter School. Afterward, Saba operated out of commercial buildings on Main Street. In 2013, Saba moved into an industrial building on State Highway 129 through a temporary 10-year use permit from the Watsonville Planning Commission. Saba's occupancy and operation there has been an adverse impact and has resulted in neighborhood opposition to their continued presence. That issue will be an upcoming agenda item for the Watsonville City Council in the form of a zoning amendment request. As part of the information review, certain facts have come to light which reveal how a children's charter school has been placed in an industrial zone. Upon receiving authorization, Saba requested facilities from the PVUSD as allowed by State Proposition 39. From this, a dispute arose between Saba and the district as to the adequacy of what facilities the district was offering. This dispute continued to 2013, whereupon Saba and the district entered into a settlement agreement. Under the settlement agreement, the district agreed to loan $2 million to Saba and to be a guarantor and co-lessee on any property lease that Saba would enter into for a facility provided by other entities. In consideration, Saba waived its Prop 39 rights for publicly provided facilities from 2013 to the 2023 and 24 school year. Saba used that agreement to secure an industrial building for their school. Ultimately, Saba began using the state highway for drop-off and pickup of students each day. At this point, I would like to show a photo of the end result of what Saba's safe routes to school in an industrial zone looks like. No school board should be allowing this violation of basic safety to be occurring. Thank you.
Thank you for providing at-home COVID tests to students and staff before the break. And I was able to make it in on that first week in spite of everything. And I really benefited from the impromptu teacher work days. I could see making that kind of thing a best practice for the start of any school semester, teacher work days. Also, I was, in light of the situation and like the impact climate change might have played, I'm thinking that we should still be part of the larger solution. So I'm thinking green team, like before I had said that the allowance for the car that the superintendent gets should only be for some kind of green type car. And I still kind of think that, except now I think maybe Rivian R1T, and then like, because that has, you can raise it up and you could drive through some of the flooded areas that I drove through, and then you can maybe be delivering sandbags in times like this. The other thing at the last meeting, Trustee Dodge, you'd mentioned that you were asking about the capacity of Renaissance. And we at that time were about 70% capacity. We're closer to just full. And in both cases, both times, for special ed, we've been at capacity. And actually, we're more under-resourced for SPED than we've ever been in my time here. We're lacking an IA that we would normally have. We're missing right now our community liaison that we would normally have. This is not due to like any district doing, it's just a situation. And I'm a little worried because some of the intake process I feel like that we normally have has been subverted, and we're getting some students that we're not suited for, like ED students, emotionally disturbed students for our resource teacher, and then level 1 English language learners. So I think we need to like keep in mind what works well at the site, and that should really be more driving our decisions. Thank you.
Hello, My name's Donna Lefevre. I'm a math teacher at Watsonville High School. Want to start with, I think it's so important that we acknowledge all the work. I really appreciate the comments that you gave about being so grateful for the amount of labor that people were putting in to keep these facilities well and ready for us to come back to work when it was safe, these emergent times. And I hope you can really think about how much impact those people had, the work that they had, when you think about the salaries you pay them. I also really want to highlight Moriel. I mean, it's amazing to see you sitting here. I hope that you grow up and you become a board member or city council member. You have so much poise. Your presentation skills are amazing. I was not there at your great age, so impressed. I have these freshman students. They come into my class at lunchtime to de-stress, and I have some games. They dread going to their 5th period class. It is an English class where I hope that they are able to develop the skills you have. Unfortunately, that class is a vacancy. They're taught by Edgenuity. They tell me every day their class is 2 hours of silence. So they're not getting the practice that Moriel maybe had access to, or maybe she just developed that naturally. I know that there's a lot of natural skill there. But I want to make sure these freshmen are developing some foundational skills, especially when they're at their most social being. And they're having to sit after lunch in silence for 2 hours doing work on a computer. How successful do you think these kids are going to be moving forward? We have 2 English vacancies. I think we need to be doing everything we can to fill those. There's a student teacher at our school that for some reason was applying to try and get her name in there for English and hasn't heard back. So maybe we could try and follow up with that. That would be great.
Sorry, our last 2, Johnny Martinez and Heather Waltz.
Hello, good evening, board members. I am Johnny Martinez, and I am here on behalf of transportation. So last week and a couple of months ago, were brought with an issue on our negotiations. If we wanted the 5 and 5 scenario, in case I can, to explain that, is if there's 5 mini route left over, then our last 5 drivers have to choose those routes no matter what. So we said no to that, and unfortunately, somehow it made it to the agreement that will be voted on. So I know that by law, we do have to provide transportation to special needs. That has never been an issue until now. I don't know why we're enforcing that and letting our last seniority drivers not choose their routes. They're already getting not paid as much as we should, and now we're making them choose a 4-hour route or a 3-hour route or a 6-hour route when they can choose an 8-hour route instead. So if you guys want to tear this department apart, that is the best way to do it. If you guys want to get rid of drivers, that is the best way to do it. Why? Because you're taking that choice for them to get an 8-hour route based to a 6-hour route or 7-hour route. So I know that by law we do have to provide transportation for them, but there's other means to that. And we gave a couple solutions to that, but nothing's happening. So I ask you, board members, if this does passes, it's going to be on you guys, because we already have drivers talking about switching to different companies. We are getting new drivers. This last October, we did a class and 28 candidates showed up. 6 of them went through. Out of 28 candidates, only 1 of them is a bus driver right now. Not everybody can be a bus driver. So we need to pay them more. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Heather Waltz. I've been employed with PVUSD since 2016, and for six-ish of those years, I served as a behaviorist in the Special Services Department. In the behavior world, we often use the expression, catching the student being good. In essence, often, it's unlikely that we identify what individuals are doing well, but we identify what they're not doing well. And so I'm here today to share the wonderful experience I had while working with SELPA and the tremendous amount of improvements I've observed. So when I began with PVUSD, the perceived solution for a student with intensified needs was either assigning the student a one-to-one aide or assigning the student to a self-contained classroom. The notion appeared to be deeply rooted at that time. In 2017, a major shift occurred when the Special Services Department boldly and transparently prioritized inclusion, least restrictive environment, data-based decision-making, use of ethical and evidence-based practices, and a significant increase in collaboration and unification between all departments district-wide. Processes and procedures have improved immensely. Amazing, robust, and rich programs have been established where coaching staff are assigned and resources allocated. Professional development has been enhanced and is delivered frequently, and most importantly, staff are held accountable to moving the needle towards achieving a higher standard of care for all students. From my experience, the leadership has always been available, approachable, curious, collaborative, solution-oriented, and inspired to create an environment where all students thrive. Thank you.
Is that it for our public comment?
That is it.
All right. So we'll move on to our employee organization comments, and this is where we hear from our employee organizations, and each will have 5 minutes. We'll start with PVFT, or Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers. Do we have any? Great.
Good evening. All right, so first I want to thank our CSEA brothers and sisters who ensured that our school sites were safe during the week that we were closed and the couple of days for other sites as well. And our city for totally working hard on the streets and clearing up the way for everybody to get through. So as you know, we're in negotiations over our master contract, which includes total compensation. You are also aware of the ongoing educator crisis. This is something that you see in the news all the time. This is a culmination of years of mistrust and being undervalued as educators. This is being displayed in our salaries and decades of toxic gaslighting of, well, didn't you go into this profession for the, you didn't go into this profession for the money. Well, we still need to live. The district has a history of austerity measures and of following the School Services of California anti-worker philosophy of don't invest in things that eat. And somehow our nation is confused as to how educators are, as to why it is now that we're currently in this real state of educators being in short supply. The state has handsomely invested in education in the last 2 years, yet the district has continued to gaslight the community in spinning a narrative that they are broke. This alternative fact is harmful to our students. We are at an important crossroads here. You can move the district to negotiate in good faith by not solely crossing out the language we hand over to them and then keep us in a stagnant state of back and forth, or we can start making decisions to improve our working conditions and our students' learning conditions. The amount that we have asked for as an increase is actually a viable proposal. We believe it is a fair ask that the nurses, SLP, psychologists, and program specialists receive the same percentage increase as the TK-12 educators. The investment in the workforce is how the district many times pushes for new administrative positions. This is true, especially when it's an employee who works directly with our student population on a daily basis, such as our membership. The district has tried to create a division among our membership by creating a narrative about a signing bonus being the holy grail to filling vacancies. Our members know that a signing bonus does not help us as a collective, nor does it really help our students. We have their best interest in mind, trained educators who stay. The offer for the early educators is a shame. This is a unit that we represent. For the superintendent who is vocal about early literacy, it's a wonder as to why there's no direction for our cabinet to invest in our ECE educators, in our district to invest in our ECE educators. Yes, the funding might be different, but there have been situations in which there has not been a problem in contributing general funds to issues outside that don't, that have their own other funding source. So I'm just going to point out to an agenda item that you'll talk about tonight, the special election for the vacant seat. That's an estimated $80,000 for a special election, which is frivolous. $80,000. What could that do? Cabrillo College trustees are actually in the same situation, and they already have something set up where they'll just appoint somebody and it'll happen by February 27th, I believe. But $80,000, that's the equivalent of a 2% increase to our early childhood educators. A 2% increase. That's actually only a few pennies. Or a 3% for our adult education unit. Our ECE teachers have to complete college courses in child education and be licensed through the state. They make less than an instructional aide. I was an instructional aide. That's how I started out in education. All that is required when I, as an instructional aide, all I needed to have was a high school diploma. And I got the training and I was able to assist my master teachers. But our ECE teachers are specifically trained to work with our preschool students. They're establishing early literacy skills through strategic lesson delivery. They change diapers and help potty train. That's changing diapers. They start at $15.98 an hour. $15.98. That's with an associate's degree. That's with an education outside, past high school. And many do not get an automatic increase in step. So every year that they're here, $15.98, they're going to make that next year, unless we actually get a percentage increase on the salary schedule. That's how much they'll be making in 5 years if there's no increase on the salary schedule. I'm almost done. So many do not get automatic increases in step, so the inflation gap is actually a canyon for these teachers. The salary is our future retirement. A signing bonus does nothing to ensure we are growing in our financial future so that we can retire from a profession that we have invested our working life in to live comfortably in our old age.
Thank you, Nellie.
So it's time to invest in our students by ensuring the educators in the district are valued. Thank you.
President Holm, we have one speaker to this, Mary Jo Silva.
Good evening, Board. My name is Mary Jo Silva, and I'm an early childhood educator. Today, I come with a lot of early childhood educators as well. Most of us have over 15 plus years of experience, not to mention all the ongoing training, 105 hours of professional growth to meet, and that's ongoing, otherwise we don't get our permits. But I'm here to also to address and everybody represent that we're feeling very discriminative. Early childhood educators work very hard, but we're feeling very left out, that we are not included with the TK through 12 negotiations, and currently 8% is being offered. Why not 10%? We're feeling just not valued. There's a lot of emotions, and we teach emotions to our 3 to 5 year olds. We teach them emotions and how to identify it early on. We teach them literacy. This month we're talking about seasons and weather. This is one of the books. There are 4 books, 1 per week. It's about snow. So, along with this book, We prepare vocabulary words. We have pictures that go along with it. We teach language to the Spanish speakers. We provide artwork to the students. They're also able to journal write. These are 3-year-olds. How awesome is that? That's what we do. This is just a little bit of many hours that we spend in the classroom. Please consider us as part of TK through 12. Kindergarten and TK through 12 get warm handoffs from us.
Thank you. For CSCA?
Hello, Board Trustees, Michelle Rodriguez, and Cabinet there, and welcome, Olivia. Haven't had a chance to talk to you. So how's everyone doing? So I'm going to start off by saying, yes, we've reached an agreement with negotiations. Of course, yes, bus drivers here still support them, want to listen to their concerns. There is a big process, and I'm going to be talking to transportation here in a bit as well. There is a problem, and it is money. And I understand the generous percentage that was given. Everything's going to take time to catch up to what people should be paid. And I understand the process. It's rough out there. Look at the teachers. They don't get the support they need. We don't get the support we need. And it's being affected in the town. Everybody sees it. It's amazing when we have emergencies that everyone's all hands on deck. We're here to support each other. It needs to be that way for everything. We're here for everyone. Classified's always here. Like I've said in the past, we open the doors and we close the doors. I just wish you guys would understand that, and I'm sure you do, but I got to point it out again. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here for PAVAM?
Good afternoon. It's been a long time. Good afternoon, President Holmes, Dr. Rodriguez, Cabinet, members of the board. My name is Luis Medina. I'm the Director of Migrant Education, and I'm here to present a few things that we're doing throughout the year. First of all, I want to start with our aftermath, our migrant program, the after-school program, which is we call it Mass Migrant After School. We are offering classes for K through 8th throughout all the elementary middle school sites. We're currently serving over 150 students in and out. Sometimes we get less, sometimes we get more. Patricia and Lilia, they work on curriculum, and we provide all the support materials for staff members, so they don't have to provide actually create anything. We want to facilitate and give the staff members everything that they need so they can actually concentrate on teaching our migrant kids. We also offer our pre-K program. We still have a home base and a site base. We moved towards more of a home base. We're serving over 100 pre-K students at home. We have 2 migrant staff members that do home visits. They provide training to the families so that the families can actually work with the kids in literacy and math and English, so they can get ready for kinder when they get at that point. Also, our pre-K teachers are providing it's called a biliteracy program. It's a special grant that the state provides to our region, and we're serving 20 migrant families for 10 weeks. Actually, today is the first day that they're meeting. They're meeting at Radcliffe, and they work with the entire family. It doesn't matter if they're pre-K. It can be elementary kids, middle school kids. They're invited. We provide the food, the books, the training, so that the families, when they get home, they can work with their kids. as a whole family. We have quite a few families that are mistake-of families, so that creates another issue since some of those families have a difficult time speaking the Spanish language. So we try to accommodate as much as we can with our community. Also, we had our Make Academy. It was a 5-week program that it was at Cesar Chavez in middle school, Ariejo middle schools. We probably had close to 70 kids participate during that program, and they're all middle school kids for 5 weeks from 8 to 1. And then at the end of the 5 weeks, they ended up attending San Francisco Exploratorium. And I do want to say thank you to the STEM learning program, which they provided the transportation so that our kids can actually attend that field trip. And the curriculum is more STEM based, and the kids enjoy that. We do want to provide more of those type of services in the future, so the kids tend to be more willing to attend when it's the hands-on kind of activities. Also, we're working with our speech and debate teams. Our staff members that are going to be working with our kids, they've been attending training through Salinas, Monterey County Office of Education. We're in the process of recruiting kids and taking them to Salinas so they can go through the process of training. Once they go through that, we're going to start building the classes so that they can actually start working on their speeches and the and debate teams as well. This year, the state level competition, it was postponed because of COVID again. But we're going to have a regional competition, Region 1, Region 16, Region 11. Region 1 is Santa Clara County Office of Education. Region 16 is Salinas, Monterey County Office of Education. And Region 11, it's PVUSD. So we're going to have a competition in March. Once we have the more details, I'll make sure that I'll give you all the information in case you do want to show up and see our kids in action during that Saturday. Also, we're working, actually starting to work in what type of programs we're going to be offering this summer, providing the curriculum for summer. What else? Our ParentNet. We've been meeting with our parents once a month. We've been very successful in having over 40 families attend our meetings. Most of our meetings have been virtual. It's been working well with our families. We give them the option if they wanted to have them in person or virtual, and the 99% of our families decided that they wanted to have them virtually since it's very convenient. They don't have to get out of work, working on the fields, canneries, having to cook, and then take them to our meeting. Being at home, they can be part of the presentation, the meeting, without having to actually get out of the house and take the time to get their kids out of their home. Also, the high school personnel that we have, they're working with our migrant high school students, working in cooperation with our guidance counselors to make sure that the migrant kids are in compliance with their A through G and graduation requirements, and making sure that the 100% of our migrant kids do graduate from high school. To conclude, I do want to say thank you to Jen Bruno, Mike Berman, and Lisa Guerra for being very supportive to our program every single time. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Jen and Mike, if you're listening in the other, thank you.
Great. Thank you very
questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from CWA? Not today. All right. Moving on to onto our action items. So starting with item 8.1, approving resolution 22-2330, acknowledging National School Counseling Week. The report will be presented by Christy McLean, our coordinator of counseling programs.
Good evening, President Holm, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. My name is Chrissy McLean. I'm the coordinator of counseling programs here in PVUSD. I'm honored to be presenting today, and with me is Brenda Ortiz, a school counselor from Lakeview Middle School. Before we read the resolution, we're just going to speak to a little bit of the work that counselors do. So there's a little bit of context, and again, this isn't all that they do, but this is a clear picture of many of the student contacts. So what we're looking at here on this slide is a high school counseling, student contact with counselors. This is called a student conference. So it's a more purposeful contact as opposed to just a drop-in or a lunch or anything like that. You can see here in high school we have 24% of classroom lessons having to do with A to G requirements, career. Also, it may have to do with FAFSA. Now and then, I don't know if you've heard of Naviance, but they'll go in and do many career exploration and personality exploration items with students. And 18% is graduation and grades. I combined those two in the chart, and 7% scholarships. So you can see by the titles there that there are many different sorts of student conferences, but that just highlights some of the work our high school counselors are doing. And I'm going to let Brenda speak to the middle school counselor side.
Oh, we have a clicker. Yeah, we do.
Oops, I went too far.
That's elementary. Hi, like she mentioned, I'm the proud social emotional counselor at Lakeview Middle School, and I also wanted to just quickly say that the migrant program is an amazing program. I also work with them with the mass on Tuesdays, and I also work with them on the Make Academy on Saturdays, and it was just so heartwarming to see our migrant students attend the museum at San Francisco. And as a former migrant student myself, it's great to give back to the community that I grew up in, so it's just great to be able to support those students. As you can see here, mainly the work that we do in the middle school is also classroom lessons, which could vary from, for example, in September, I presented to all of the classrooms about the Suicide Awareness Month, so I was talking to them about how to do a safety plan, how to identify people who are safe, mainly like providing resources for them. I've also provided resources in the terms of classroom lessons, such as test taking tips, because some students really do get really anxious. So this is more of the tier 1 interventions that we're providing to all of the students at the middle school level. And you can see here that the other majority will be college and career, which is my colleague Berenice Rubioso. She provides also A through G and career exploration along with the access program. And lastly is social emotional, which is kind of mainly what I do. So it could just really vary from like a student in crisis, or just a student feeling down, or also a student who comes and just wants to share how their day went, because I also have students that want to talk about things that are going well in their families or in school. And we do so many things. This is just data, but there's so many other things that we do with our hearts. So that's the other part of the school counselors that we do.
And on this last slide, we'll speak to a little bit of the elementary school counselor data. As you can see, 39% social emotional. Our elementary school counselors are social emotional counselors. That is the majority of their work. They have 17.6 small group. We've really been building up sort of that tier 2 small group, social skills and skill building groups, and 8.7% parent conference. There are also some other things inside of here, outside referrals. And again, this is just a peek at the wonderful work that our counselors do in lifting up our students and helping them, be successful in life, in career, and in college, their relationships, in talking to their teachers, just coaching them through so many various things.
Also, I would like to add something at the elementary level. I hope that in the future we have one social emotional counselor per site, because at the moment it used to be four schools per one social emotional counselor, which is a big load. And I believe, and I still truly believe, that it should be one per school, because that is the intervention. As you can see, the main job that my colleagues are doing is social emotional, where they're talking to them about those social skills and just really how to trust an adult and how to advocate for themselves. So I hope that for the future, it's one per school site.
And so, thank you for that. And so that's just, like I said, a little snapshot. We are going to take turns. We're going to read this resolution to you. Acknowledging National School Counseling Week, February 6th through 10th. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential and
whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and personal development. And
whereas school counselors help parents, right? Help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And
school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And
whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society.
And whereas school counselors help children to become members of teams that nurture their individual strengths across both personal and academic endeavors. And
whereas school counselors are specially trained to deliver a continuum of academic support that lower barriers to learning.
And whereas the Pajaro Valley Unified School District community should recognize the vital role that school counselors play in the social, emotional, and academic development of our children.
Whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in schools.
Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District do hereby proclaim February 6th to the 10th, 2023 as National School Counseling Week.
And so with that, we humbly ask that you approve this resolution and with the community celebrate the hard work that all of our counselors do here in PVUSD.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Do we have any discussion from the board? Trustee DeSerpa?
So a few years ago, we had 0 social emotional counselors. We only had guidance counselors. So I feel really thrilled. I don't know if I could even, I'm just thrilled that we have any in the district at all. And how many do we have, Chrissy, altogether now?
18.
We have 18. That's an unbelievable number from going from 0. Yeah. So, congratulations. Thank you. Thanks for all the hard work. Please express to your colleagues how grateful and how much gratitude I have for their work. I'm a LCSW myself, and so I work in the healthcare setting. But I'm very pleased to know that you guys are holding the hearts of all of our students. So thank you. And I'm glad that you're a product of PVUSD and you've come back. That's wonderful.
She was my teacher.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Thank you.
Trustee Dodge Jr.?
I also just wanted to acknowledge the guidance counselors at EA Hall. I always talk about how I attended the schools that I represented and I represent, and the people are still there. You know, they're close to retiring, but I just wanted to acknowledge, you know, the staff at EA Hall. I also want to acknowledge the social emotional counselor at Watsonville High School. I know she works in tandem with the SRO. I've seen firsthand, because my daughter attends Watsonville High, how it's easy for students just to drop in, just to let the social emotional counselor know, you know, issues they might have at home or just anything. You know, I just want to acknowledge her too. And I also wanted to acknowledge the guidance counselors at Watsonville High. I know our student trustee knows, you know, the hard work, the thousands of students they have to see, and they do their best to make sure that everybody gets seen. I know it's hard, you know, I know our student trustee knows how hard it is, but I just want to acknowledge the guidance counselor. There's one there that she was my guidance counselor, so I just wanted to acknowledge her too. And there was someone else that I went to high school, and it means a lot. The guidance counselors at Watsonville High, they believe in the students, they believe in the children, they do what they can, and I just wanted to acknowledge them and just say thank you.
Maria?
And I did just want to add on to that, like, it is true, counselors, socio-emotional and academic, are some of the most important people at our schools. And personally speaking, like, I'm lucky to have worked very closely with my own guidance counselor. And also, you know, we do like this Counselor Appreciation Week, and we're really grateful in those times, but we really do appreciate them the entire, like, 4 years that we have during high school and even middle school too. And also, like, I've been to the Wellness Center, and the socio-emotional counselor, or I think she's a mental health clinician, but she goes back and forth from Aptos and Watsonville, but she mostly stays at the center, and they really are in need of the most support, I think, because, you know, they don't get as much resources as I feel like they should be. And even with our academic counselors, their caseloads are just so much, and it's really hard to get in and have like a proper talk with them. Like, I know whenever we need schedule changes, they're super busy, especially during the beginning of school when we're barely getting our schedules and everything. And so I think just, you know, increasing their accessibility is one of our, or it should be one of our priorities. So thank you for presenting this resolution.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we support this resolution for our guidance counselors.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. To all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. All right, moving on to item 8.2, approve resolution 222329, support of Black History Month. The report will be presented by Casey Klappenbach, our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education.
Good evening, President Holm, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Casey Klappenbach, the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education. So February 1st marks the beginning of Black History Month, which is a time to celebrate culture, contributions, heritage, and experiences of African Americans. This year's theme focuses on Black resistance, takes a look at how African Americans have fought repression from America's earliest days, from escaping the plantation to the rise out of poverty and the struggle for equal housing and education to the struggle for voting rights. The resistance lives on even into the 21st century. The theme recognizes and acknowledges the legacy of Black scholars and medical practitioners and the work that still needs to continue to improve the disparities of equity and access to this underserved population. Never has there been a more critical time to recognize, acknowledge, chronicle, and celebrate the rich culture and contributions. Our nation has elected our very first African American Asian Vice President, as well as the first female African American Supreme Court Justice and Black House Minority Leader. The past several years have shown us that there is still much work to be done and to end the racial injustice, ignorance, and inequities that still plague our nation. Through education, including culturally relevant and responsive teaching and courses such as ethnic studies, as well as advocacy, we will be able to make changes happen. Tonight's resolution only begins to touch on this work. So I would like to end by reading a few highlights from this resolution. Acknowledging Black History Month, Resolution 222329. Whereas Black History Month was originally established in 1926 by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, an African-American author and scholar who worked to establish a specific time of year to recognize this untold, underappreciated, and or under-celebrated contributions of African Americans to our nation's history. Whereas Pajaro Valley Unified School District recognizes that current research supports the positive effect of ethnic studies courses and other culturally relevant approaches to engage and motivate higher academic performance of all students. Whereas Pajaro Valley Unified School District encourages PVUSD educators to celebrate, honor, and study the contributions of African Americans throughout the year and to include the lived experiences every month. Therefore, be it resolved that the Pajaro Valley Board of Trustees acknowledges February 2023 as Black History Month and recognizes the significance of Black History Month as an important time to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of African Americans in the nation's history. Therefore, be it resolved that the Pajaro Valley Board of Trustees encourages the continued celebration of this month to provide an opportunity for all members of the district to learn more about the past and to better understand the experiences that have shaped our nation and the world. So without further ado, PVUSD staff proudly brings forth the following for your approval: Resolution 22-23-29 in support of acknowledging February as Black History Month. I request your approval, please.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Do we have any discussion from the board? Trustee DeSerpa?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8.3, approve resolution 22-23-28 proclaiming January as School Board Month. A report will be presented by Dr. Michelle Rodriguez, Superintendent of Schools.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is the first board meeting that we have in January. So this is our only opportunity to do this, but this is something new that we haven't done in the past years, but I wanted to make sure and begin to submit these. So this is technically January is School Board Month. It's probably that timing because this is when the new board are appointed and come on. But I think everyone who is watching and doesn't really realize at times the sacrifice that each board member up here on the diocese commits to every time that they are here. And they're responsible for 5 major responsibilities. So setting direction, establishing an effective and efficient structure, providing support, ensuring accountability, providing community leadership as advocates for children, the school district, and public schools. And so we have for us, we have our 7-member board. And what I have always appreciated about this board is that you know and are willing to support all of the communities in which we actually serve. So even though we have a trustee area and you're part of a trustee area, you all are willing to help support whatever is needed in Watsonville, Aptos, Freedom, Pajaro, and Las Lomas, and really focusing on our whole child, whole family, whole community approach, which prioritizes academic, social, emotional, physical, and mental health needs of students. So I'm going to read just a few from the board resolution. So whereas school boards fulfilled this role by performing the 5 major duties, which was initiated in 1995 by the National School Boards Association, 2023 marks the 28th anniversary of School Board Recognition Month, where more than 1,000 educational agencies in California representing more than 5,000 school board members will honor and recognize the significant contributions of school board trustees and their work to meet the academic, social, emotional, physical, and mental health needs of students. Whereas PVUSD school board members provide a voice of advocacy for public schools and the welfare of students and work closely with parents, educational professionals, and other members to create the healthiest environments possible where all children can thrive. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pajaro Valley Unified School District of Education hereby declare the month of January 2023 as the School Board Recognition Month. And we urge all community members to join us in recognizing the dedication and hard work of local school board members and in working with them to create an educational system that meets the needs of all of our children. So thank you for everything you all do.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Any discussion from the board? I have a comment. And that's the, it's like, I will admit that at first, for me, it seemed a little odd to have a resolution about us. But, on reflection, it's not about us as individuals. Not about the individuals that are sitting, in our seats. It's, in my mind, it's about the work that trustees throughout our county, our state, our nation, have taken on. It is a big responsibility. There are so many things to weigh in all the different considerations in supporting our school communities. And I think that it's a good idea to have something like this, just to raise awareness of what it is that trustees as a group do. So there. Anyone else?
There's not a day that a meeting that goes by when I'm not grateful to have a voice and a vote here on this board. So thank you for honoring the work that we do. It's oftentimes not fun, but it's very rewarding. I'll put it that way. It's a huge responsibility, and many of us take it very seriously. So thanks, Michelle, Dr. Rodriguez, for bringing this forward. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second Trustee DeSerpa's motion, and also with that, I would just like to add, I hope that the other 10 districts in the county move in the same direction, as well as the over 1,000 other school districts throughout the state. So you have my second.
Are there any further comment? I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to item 8.4, discussion and action to determine whether to order an election or make a provisional board appointment. Report will be presented by Dr. Michelle Rodriguez, Superintendent of Schools.
Yes, thank you very much. So we have a very important decision or the board has a very important decision to make. So there are, as just a little bit of background, mostly for the public, we, as you know, we do have a board vacancy because of the fact that Maria Rosco went to city council. And so because of that, she created a vacancy, which we now have the option to do one of two things. So we do have the option to order an election. I do want to note that I checked with both legal counsel and with Tricia Weber on this. And if we were to order the election, then it would not occur until November. As we would, the March election is not, we can't do the election no sooner than 130 days. And so obviously we can't meet that. We need more than 130 days to meet the March. So the next regularly scheduled election would be November. So our other option, which is less costly, is to do a provisional appointment. And so you will see up on the screen, can you actually go to the narrative instead, please? If we choose to do the provisional appointment, that appointment still does need to just move up so that you can see the numbers, the letters A through G. Yep, perfect. So that needs to occur before 60 days. Both of them have to occur before 60 days. You either have to order the election before 60 days or you have to make the provisional appointment prior to 60 days. So for us, that is February 11th. So we would have to do it prior to February 11th. The steps are delineated not only by education code, but also by our board policy. So we would need to advertise in local media. Alicia has already been in contact with the 3 local media that we have the most contact with. And so that is the Register Pajaronian, the Sentinel, and Lookout. And so we would place the application, which if we move in that direction, we'll be happy to go over the application. It is attached. But that's how we would solicit applications or nominations. I would hold, and there it goes. I would hold an information session for interested applicants this upcoming week. And then President President Holm would create a committee of 3 board members, which is less than quorum. Quorum is 4, to ensure that the applicants are eligible for board membership. That committee would announce the names of the eligible candidates. Currently in the documents, we have that would occur at the beginning of the week, the 6th or the 7th. And then we would set up the interview for the candidates we would have to do it at a public board meeting. We would accept oral and written public input at that time, and we would interview the candidates, and then we would select the provisional appointee by a majority vote. The interviews, input, and vote all do have to be in open session. We can't do any of it in closed session. And so we're bringing it to the board so that the board can adopt one of the resolutions. So we either would adopt the resolution, both are the same number purposely because we're only going to approve one of the resolutions. And so one would be either adopt the resolution to order the election or adopt the resolution to make a provisional appointment. And I will open it up for any further questions.
Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do. We have one. I'm sorry. Lowell Hurst.
Thank you very much, Board. Happy School Board Month. It's not often that you get the recognition, even if it's self-recognition, that you righteously and religiously deserve. A lot of sacrifice goes on, and I can see it. My name is Lowell Hurst. I am a longtime resident of Area 6, the Freedom area. And you might also recognize that I was an employee of the school district for 32 years, from 1978 to 2010. I was looking for my 32-year pin this evening to wear here, but I got a lot of mementos and I wasn't able to find it. But I did find my golden apple, and I remember all the joys and trials and tribulations of my 32 years of teaching and my membership with the PV teachers. I'm here to speak to this item this evening because I saw it on your agenda, and I know how important public policy is and how difficult it is to craft good public policy. And any time that you can save money and save time, that's a good thing to do. And so I know you get a lot of suggestions and, even people come and demand things of you. I'm just here with a simple recommendation that you move forward with the provisional appointment, save yourself some time, save yourself some money, and move forward with good policy. And I assume that you'll have some very good applicants available to your consideration as well. And there's positives to both of these moves, but one of them really does save you time and save you money. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to discussion from the board. I wanted to say, given that we've talked about the cost. I mentioned, $80,000, and that is a huge cost. There are so many things that we could do with $80,000. And if we need to, if our hand is forced, of course, we can spend it on an election. But there's other things I know I would rather spend it on. The voters of Trustee Area 6 would certainly be within their rights to challenge an appointment if they feel that whoever we appoint does not represent them. Democratic principles are still preserved while being mindful of how we are using district resources. And so that's where I definitely am wanting us to go. If we choose to move forward with a provisional appointment process, the eligibility committee is fairly straightforward. So, Dr. Rodriguez mentioned that, I would, be developing that. We'd have, 2 other board members, work with me. It's straightforward. It's not, cherry picking candidates. It's a matter of going through the application. And it's like, are they qualified based on their, basically on their answers on the application? Do they live in the trustee area based on their application, yes or no? Are they over 18, yes or no? It's not a matter of do we like them or not. That's not what it is. So it should be a very quick process. And so, as we're making comments, if that's something you're interested in, it's like you would have to be available the evening of the 6th or 7th. So that's something to think about as you're making comments. February 6th or 7th. So if consider that. And any other comments? Dodge Jr.?
So a special election will be held in November? Thanks. Yeah. That's kind of shocking to me. That's a long time without that area not having representation. So I would like to go ahead and make the motion that we have a provisional appointment. Thank you.
Trustee Soto?
I believe in the democratic process, and my personal opinion is I think the people should speak. We shouldn't be the governing body to make that decision. But in light of the situation and the time frame, that is a long time to stretch this out. So, it's unfortunate we have to wait that long. We shouldn't have to. I'm, where I stand. But, I will agree that, we do need to make a decision and make a decision fast. Thanks.
Anyone else?
I'll second the motion.
I would also like to know, so I do have a first and a second, but I would also like to, because I would also like to know who is interested in being part of the selection. Before we close out this item, I need to know who's interested in being.
So I understand you have a first and second, but you're still taking discussion before
Yes.
you're moving to vote. Okay.
Yes.
Serving in leadership with you, I'd like to be on the committee
Okay.
with you, and I am available
Okay.
the 6th and 7th.
Great.
I think that's fitting if that's the direction that that the vote carries.
Is there anyone else who is interested in serving on the eligibility committee?
Yeah, I'm available those evenings, both of those, if it comes to that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I guess that was only my next question. Is that the decision's determined tonight with the vote, right now when you state what your committee is going to be?
Yeah.
Just for clarification.
Okay.
Again, if
Yeah.
that's the way the vote goes.
Yes.
Because you only have a first and second right now.
Correct. Trustee Dodge Jr., if you're willing to defer, would you be willing to accept a friendly amendment to your motion to accept the resolution for that with the committee members being?
Yeah, yes. With the committee members who volunteered, yes.
Yes. Just so that it's all wrapped.
It's part of the resolution.
Yeah.
Who it's elected.
Yes.
That's what-
Oh, got it. Just trying to make sure we've got everything covered. All right.
So I guess if we could just speak it for the record so it's clear, or if you wouldn't mind,
Absolutely.
who those
Okay.
members
Yeah, no,
are,
it's
just
part-
so,
yes.
because we've had a couple with interest. I know, I heard trustee DeSerpa say she deferred,
Right.
but just so
you
we're
said
clear.
you would be willing to defer. Okay. So for the record, then the committee members would be Olivia Flores, Georgia Acosta, and myself. Okay. With Dr. Rodriguez, yes, yes.
I'm the token.
Yeah. Okay.
And do you want to review the application prior to the vote, or?
Were people able to review the application as part of the board packet? Do we want to review the application?
Because I would need to post it tomorrow.
Yeah, if you want to bring it up, and if we could be really clear what that process is and who, if interested people that may be interested in that area, to that, what that process is, where they're applying.
So, can you go up to the very top, because I'm going to actually read the entire thing, Sylvester? Thanks so much. So applications can be requested from the board members, are requested from community members to fill the board seat that was vacated by the resignation of Maria Rosco, which was vacated on December 13th. So the applicants must be 18 years of age or older, reside within trustee area 6 of Pajaro Valley Unified School District, and be a registered voter. Those are pretty much what you guys the committee will check. Interested persons are invited to submit an application addressed to the superintendent's executive secretary, so Eva Renteria, at the following address. So this is how they could get it. The application process includes application for appointment, application which we'll review in a second, a brief resume of the applicant's background. Oh, sorry. Thank you. And respond to questions explaining why the applicant is interested in becoming a member of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District Board of Trustees. So the application can be obtained from the Office of the Superintendent here, located at 294 Green Valley Road, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. The district's website, this would occur as of tomorrow on the district's website, or by calling the number that you see on the screen, which is 831-786-2135. So all applications must be on file in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District office, so my office, no later than Monday, February 6, 2023 at 5 p.m. If they're unsure if they live within the trustee area 6 boundaries, they can call the Santa Cruz County Register of Voters at the number provided, 831-454-2409, Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m. The applicants will be interviewed at an agendized board meeting, and right now the suggestion that that President Holm and myself came up with was Saturday, February 11th. It cannot be later than the February 11th. That is our last day that's possible. Saturday, February 11th, 2023 at 10 a.m. by the Board of Trustees. If you can move past for me. These are just some of the areas that are actually from our bylaws. So I just plucked them from the bylaws, but be supportive of our missions and goals, committed to excellence in providing educational opportunities for students, will make decisions based on careful analysis of all data, without regard to influence by special interest groups, work with mutually supportive ways with other board members, the superintendent staff, are willing to commit adequate time to board meetings, board development opportunities, and related activities, have a commitment to the school community as well as the general community, representing all constituents of the district, have demonstrated an interest and support for public education, demonstrate a background reflecting personal and professional integrity, and are committed and endorse the primary responsibility of a member in regards to policy making. And then here is the actual application. So they can they would receive it in Word form, or they can pick it up. But basically they would put their date, their name, their home address, phone number, email, their occupation and employer, the number of years residing in the district, the required question, which is, are you 18 years or older, registered voter? Are you disqualified from the California Constitution or laws? And that basically is due to felonies. And then, do you have children in the school districts? Yes or no? If yes, what schools? And then there are 10 questions. And so, especially those that just got elected will recognize a lot of these questions. So, do you have prior experience serving on a governing board, specifically a school district board? Please list such experience. Have you worked on any school committees or participated in any school activities recently? Please list them. Describe any other community or business activities in which you have participated. Describe your role and whether your work was volunteer or employment related. Why do you want to be a member of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District Board of Trustees? What do you see as the basic purpose of the public schools? What is the role of the board in the fulfillment of that purpose? What should be the relationship between the board members and the administration in the handling of schools' concerns? Briefly describe your commitment to public education and the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. What do you see as strengths of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, and what do you see as areas most needing improvement in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District? So the committee, what they would do is they're just asking the 4 required questions, right? Are you 18? Are you a registered voter? Do you live within the trustee area? And have you said whether or not you legally can't take the position because of basically being a felon? And then, so you wouldn't necessarily be judging these answers. Where these answers come in is on the date that we wind up interviewing, which at this point we've talked about it being the 11th, but then only the board would see these answers. At least that's tradition. It's not generally provided to the public, but all the board would receive a copy. The committee, whether it's Monday or Tuesday night, would do a public statement of who submitted the application and who is going to be interviewed on that date. And then we would wind up, or you all would wind up interviewing on the 11th, and that same day you would select someone or vote to select someone. And so if you all vote this way, then what Alicia and I will do tomorrow morning, we have my morning open so that we can commit to this, is we would get this up on our website. We would start putting it up on social media, provide it to all the local media so that they can, we'll have to create something, but create so that people know about the application, put it on our website, and allow people to start submitting. And then I would also set up the information session sometime next week as well. And so we put all that information out tomorrow morning.
I have just a couple follow-up things in that paragraph.
Yes.
Just for clarification purposes, because I know you did it with regards to Tricia Weber's office, and the hours, but you see where you said for the district office between the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.?
To put Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if
I
you're
thought of
talking
it
about
too.
having a Saturday board meeting, I don't want somebody thinking
Yeah.
they could come on a
Thank you.
weekend. But and
I'll
then
do
the
that.
other is just clarification when you say all applications must be on file in the district office no later than Monday, February 6th at 5 p.m. How is that mean? You know, a paper, electronic submission?
They can either do electronic or in person, but we would have to have it.
And if it's electronic, just clarification of electronically where and to whom? Is it to
It
you,
would be,
to Eva,
yeah,
to
it would be
Alicia?
Eva Renteria. So on the, I can put that, it is on the application, but I'll put it there as well for you.
Not me.
Yeah,
I'm not
I know.
applying.
But yeah, I will say, I'll clarify that and say,
I just,
either by
if
paper.
some
Mhm.
people are really interested, I want them to have a clear path of
Yeah.
knowing what that process is, and it
Yeah,
could be
or email.
daunting. Like, and
Yeah.
if it is submitted electronically, then to whom?
Yep, so
I think
I can
that's
put it.
important to add to it.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments?
I hope people apply. I hope we have some good candidates. I'm looking forward to seeing.
Great. All right, we have a first and a second. Eva, this is an important vote. Can we do a roll call vote, please? Yes.
To decide the process.
It's the vote on the motion.
Yes.
Ready? Okay. Trustee Soto, your vote?
Aye.
Trustee Acosta, your vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge, your vote?
Aye.
Trustee DeSerpa, your vote?
Aye.
Trustee Flores, your vote?
Aye.
President Holm, your vote?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you. All right, item 8.5, UCSC EAOP Access Program. Report will be presented by Dr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, thank you so much. So you probably will remember that 3 years ago, so we have a Gear Up grant. So the Gear Up grant is what's called, it's on the cohort model. So what that means is it starts in 6th grade and then it continues on and follows those students all the way to 12th grade. So 3 years ago, we started this contract with EAOP because we wanted to make sure that our high schools weren't left without college and career centers. And so this will allow us, so 3 years have gone by and we have continued to use them. They provide us 45 staff members across all of our secondary schools right now, except for Aptos Junior. With this revision, we were able to actually include Aptos Junior in this one as well, in this contract. So that would mean that every single secondary school in Pajaro Valley Unified School District will have a college and career center. And so we're really excited to continue with this support. As you may remember, when we thought we were going to fall into really difficult times, now a little over 2 years ago, we had a lot of students that spoke out of why we were getting rid of it, because it is a large contract. It is $1.6 million, but it really has been a support. So they work in tandem with our staff, and you'll see the number of students that they support. And the amount of effort that they put into the students. And so I'm asking for the approval of the board for the continuation of the EOP. We now call it the Access Program because of the fact that we support it, but it's the EOP Access Program.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Do we have any discussion from the board?
It's a great program, and I'm very pleased that it's being expanded to Aptos Junior High.
Yes.
We have a lot of kids who are vulnerable there, who need the support of this program. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I don't want to strip it from you if you want to second it.
I would love to second it. Thank you. Yes, I'll second. Great. We have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries 5-0-1. All right. Moving on to 8.6, Memorandum of Understanding between PVFT and PVUSD, temporary increase to compensation for subbing during prep or release time. The report will be presented by Allison Niazawa, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, President Holm, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. This is one of many MOUs I'm going to be talking about tonight. But as you will recall, I'm sure, we did an MOU in the beginning of this school year to temporarily increase the subbing on prep rate for our highly impacted sites at the time that were in secondary due to vacancies and just an overall challenge getting subs to cover. This MOU is actually extending that. So we are continuing to have a shortage of substitutes, and we're continuing to have teacher absences. So we have extended it to now be K-12 in terms of the sub pay, as well as recognizing that even though they're getting paid additionally for losing their prep, they also just need time within their workday. So this MOU also includes for every school now an additional Wednesday free of district mandated meetings in the months of February, March, April, and May. So I respectfully request that you approve this MOU tonight.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Any discussion from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to items 8.7, memorandum of, memorandum of understanding between PVFT and PVUSD emergency days for flood damage and evacuation.
Yes,
Still
me
you.
again. Thank you, President Holm, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. So this MOU before you tonight is to offer emergency days to those who were impacted by the flood and needed to evacuate their homes. So the first set of days were the ones that were hit kind of at the beginning of January. So they're there, and then as well as 3 additional days for trying to return from evacuation or deal with kind of insurance adjustments, and all the things that are related to the impact that the flood had on our employees. So this MOU in front of you is to provide emergency personal necessity days for our employees in the certificated unit that were impacted by the floods and the evacuation. So I respectfully request that you approve this MOU.
Public speakers?
We do not.
Discussion from the board?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a first.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to 8.8, memorandum of understanding between CSEA and PVUSD emergency days for flood damage and evacuation. Still you.
Still me. Same topic. Yes, so we, of course, want to provide parity with all of our employees. So this MOU is with CSEA and our classified unit. It's the exact same MOU I just presented. So it's the 3 days for the evacuation starting January 4th through the 6th. And then 3 additional days once basically majority of our staff return from winter break in order to mitigate any losses they had and any evacuations or returning to their homes for the flood. So I respectfully request that you approve this MOU.
Public speakers?
We do not.
Discussion from the board? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to 8.9, it's the emergency days for flood damage and evacuation for management, confidential, professional services, and yard duty employee groups.
Yes, thank you again. So this is for all of our unrepresented employees. So as it states, our management employees, we wanted to offer flood relief, our emergency days for them, our confidential employees, our professional services, and then our yard duties. So those are our basically make up everyone that's not covered under PVFT and CSEA. And so I respectfully request that you approve this item for all of our unrepresented employees as well.
We do not.
All right. Board comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. 6-0. Going on to 8.10, memorandum of understanding between PVFT and PVUSD extended COVID-19 leave.
Yes. Me again, new topic. Okay, so we worked with PVFT on a extension of the COVID relief emergency days. So we recognize that the state is still in what they're considering a state of emergency due to COVID, and we do recognize that there are still requirements placed on the district to have employees stay home if they do contract COVID-19, and that is an imposition on our employees. So we wanted to extend, while the state is still in a state of emergency, we wanted to extend the already provided state relief COVID days, and so we're extending just the 5 days for our employees, and we have it through April 1st. So I respectfully request that you approve the MOU to extend the COVID leave days to our certificated employees.
And do we have a public speaker for this item?
We do.
Great.
Nellie.
Oh, sorry, I was sorry. Got distracted. Sorry.
I don't think that you and I could ever switch places. We don't look alike. Hi, thanks. So thank you to the district for responding to the initial proposal that we submitted. This isn't the language that it didn't end up the way that we had initially proposed it, but it is important. I do want to just add again that, our retirement matters for us, and for some of us, that includes like maybe I have some extra days in my leave bank that I can then carry over into retirement. There's also many of us who might, or many of our members who might be family planning. And so our leave days, our leave bank is incredibly important because that's all we have. Educators, and for the public, we, like California state law, we do get maternity leave, but that comes from our leave bank. So if a teacher, if an educator, you know, when they have their baby, when they have their child, they adopt a child, they're going to take a family time to you know, adjust to being a new parent. If they don't have days in their leave bank, they then have to resort to what we call differential, and that's only half pay. Or then you just are medically separated from the district and don't have a job if you can't come to work. So that's what happens to educators. So protecting days are really important for us. It was very great that the state had the 10 days for the calendar year of 2022. The state's moving into a non-emergency status for COVID, and that's why there is no longer that safety net for employers to utilize those 10 COVID days. So there is going to be cases where we're going to have members who get COVID, and part of what was included in order for the district to approve this was that they have to, it has to have happened at work. So there's some language in there that creates some very strict parameters for our members to be able to utilize, not having to lose a sick day from their own leave bank. But many people, do get it, have it for 10 days. So they'll still be losing some days. Anyways, thank you. We do appreciate, it is only until April 1st. Thanks.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
First?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to 8.11, Memorandum of Understanding between CSEA and PVUSD extended COVID-19 leave.
Yes. So similar to the last round of emergency days, we are extending the same exact MOU, same exact leave type and parameters for our classified employees. So I respectfully request that you approve this MOU as well.
Any public speakers?
We do not have any.
Discussion from the board?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 8.12, extended COVID-19 leave for management, confidential professional services, and yard duty employee groups. It's still you.
It's still me. Last one. Yes, so this item before you tonight is now to also extend the COVID emergency days to our unrepresented groups of management, confidential professional services and yard duties. So it's the exact same language for them as well that was just presented in the two previous MOUs. So I respectfully request that you approve this item.
Public speakers?
We have none.
Board discussion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, item 8.13, new class description, expanded learning opportunities specialist, a new face at the podium. The report will be presented by Pam Shanks, our Director of Human Resources. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you. Good evening, President Holm, board members, and Dr. Rodriguez. My name is Pam Shanks, and I'm the Director of Classified Personnel that oversees the merit system under direction of our Personnel Commission in the district. This item before you tonight is a new class description called Expanded Learning Opportunities Specialist. I did want to just give a brief overview of how new classified class descriptions are established in the district since we have a new board member. Welcome, Trustee Flores. When administration under the board's direction wants to create a new position, they submit the desired duties to the Director of Classified Personnel, at which point I prepare a class description. The Personnel Commission has the responsibility under the Education Code to prepare the class description and determine the title, the minimum qualifications, and designate the salary placement on the approved salary schedule. The Board of Trustees prescribes the duties and responsibilities of all the positions in the classified service. So there is a dual approval process for new class descriptions in the classified service in the district. This item brought before you tonight is a new class description titled Expanded Learning Opportunities Specialist. To ensure a safe, quality program that supports student learning, the Expanded Learning Program needs a lead at all sites. This position functions with respect to monitoring and implementing the supervision of the day-to-day duties to ensure the operation of an effective expanded learning program for our students. To ensure the program has the support needed to implement ELOP, 21st century and ACES requirements, they need an 8-hour person to work as a liaison between the school day, community partners, and our after-school programs. This position is key to moving forward and creating a dynamic year-round programming to be in compliance with the ELOP funding. The Personnel Commission did approve the class description at their January 19th meeting, and this evening I ask the board to approve the new class description and the revised classified salary schedule as presented.
Thank you. Any public speakers?
We have none.
Any discussion from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve
Do I have a
as
second?
presented.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to 8.14, revised class description, our lead maintenance specialist plumber. Our report will still be presented by Pam Shanks, our Director of Classified Personnel.
Thank you again. Good evening, President Holm, board members, and Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Pam Shanks, Director of Personnel for Classified Personnel. This item is being brought tonight as a revised class description. We already have the lead maintenance specialist plumber as an established job description in our district. It is being revised to include the duty of overseeing the operation of a swimming pool filtering system and related equipment, which was within the scope of work of this position. The district did work with CSEA on this change in order to move forward. The position will remain on range 50 of the classified salary schedule, so there's no change to the salary for the position. It was approved by the Personnel Commission at their January 19th meeting, and so this evening I ask the board to approve the revised class description as presented.
Thank you. Any public speakers?
None.
Board discussion? Great. Go ahead, Trustee Soto.
Good evening, Pam. How are you?
Hi, good.
With this new duty in the pool, obviously there's going to be some training, correct? They're going to be
Yes.
sent to some school to learn how to, because they're dealing with chlorines, chemicals, and I mean, I know back in the day Leon was the guy that did it, and you know, he dealt with a lot of different mixtures and chemicals and things like that. So
Yes, we actually, this position is actually currently vacant and we're recruiting for it. So that would be one of the pieces
One
that
of the
the new person
parameters
coming
for-
on board
for
for the
recruitment?
position would
Okay.
be aware that that would be something that they would either need to have some experience with, or the district could provide some training with that, yeah.
all right, good.
Trustee DeSerpa?
So this would be for all the pools in the district?
Yes, we have the one at Watsonville High and Aptos High, and then there's the one at Duncan Holbert too as well.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a first.
I'll
Do I-
second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8.15, adoption of resolution 22-2331, request for CalSTRS separation from service requirement exemption. Report will be presented by Brian Saxton, our Director of Certificated Personnel.
Good evening, President Holm, Dr. Rodriguez, and other board members. I bring to you tonight a resolution to move the 180-day calendar requirement for retired CalSTRS members. We have Stefan Lovell, who was a former site academic coordinator at Starlight, as well as a teacher there, and he is wishing to return early from his 180-day separation. And so we anticipate using him in the positions of a substitute, as well as to fill in temporarily as the coordinator of site academics at Starlight, due to the fact that they have someone on maternity leave. So we're requesting that you would adopt this resolution as presented.
Thank you. Do any public speakers?
We have none.
Board discussion?
I just have a quick question, right?
Yes.
And when the teacher who's leaving on maternity leave returns, then
he would be in that position as a temporary. So it's for the academic coordinator, which is the assistant principal for elementary. So she's on a maternity through the end of the year, so he's going to fill that spot to the end of the year. And then his contract would be temporary, and it would end on June 2nd.
But could he continue with us, because then he'd be outside that 180-day window, I think, by then?
Correct. His 180-day window. He retired December 16th, so 6 months from there, which is June 16th. So he would be able to just come back at any given time after that.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a
If
first.
there's other comments.
Well, second. He's a great guy.
He's
I have
He's
a-
tried to retire twice, and he hasn't been able to.
we keep pulling him back
Yes.
in.
Well, maybe he won't be happy with us.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
All right. Item 8.16, Williams Quarter 2 Report, 2022-2023, October, November, December. Report, you're back.
I didn't want you to miss me.
Report will be presented by Allison Niyazawa, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Yes, thank you, President Holm, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. So in front of you tonight is our Williams quarterly report. Ed Code states that districts need to adopt a complaint process and procedure for instructional materials, facilities, and misassignments. So that is what this is. And then we have to report on it in open session 4 times a year. So this is one of those quarterly reports. And during those timeframes and those months of October through December, we received 0 Williams complaints. So I request that you approve the quarterly report.
Thank you.
We have no speakers.
Board discussion?
That's great. I'll make a motion to accept and approve this.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 8.17, Informacast Clock Bell Paging System for PV High and Soldo and Landmark. Dan Weiser, our Director of Technology, will be presenting that.
Just to make me look foolish. No, sorry about that. Dan Weiser, Director of Technology for the school district. And yes, I'm bringing forward for your consideration the final 3 schools for the Informacast clock bell paging system, the mass notification system that we've installed in all the schools in the district, with the exception of these 3, and Soldo, Landmark, and PV High. And this is a critical system, obviously, for security, safety of students and staff. And these old systems are having problems, and we're excited to get the last sites completed, which will also allow us to do district-wide paging, right? If we had an emergency, we had to notify every classroom in the district. These schools would be a part of that now, too. And then, as always, technology services staff does all the server installs, the configuration, the tuning of the system, all of the kind of complex technical aspects. They train the site staff. We do all that in-house to bring costs down. It's literally just the purchase of the equipment itself and then some of the cabling to connect it. So I'm bringing this forward for your consideration, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any public speakers?
We have none.
Any board discussion? Yes, Trustee Soto?
Hey Dan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So
Good.
one question. I recall years back when a system was installed, and I can specifically recall Rolling Hills. Are the old housing units going to be removed and remediated, or are they going to be reused? Because
Yep, part of...
let me finish.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So thinking or remembering back to when this project was implemented, the new clocks were installed, but the old housing systems were bypassed and left in place, and maintenance had to come in and mitigate those. So I'm hoping that that's being taken into consideration when these scopes are developed, that we have to remove the old and install the new and not leave a hole in the wall?
Yes, part of this project in the last, I don't even know exactly how many that we've done, part of the whole process is as they remove the old equipment, they blank plate those locations. So they make a custom plate to cover that hole. And then those are basically, painted. And then they remove everything they can remove. The problem with some of the older systems is some components are integrated with the fire alarms. So we don't want them to mess with that at all. So everything that they know they can remove, they remove. And then they actually blank plate any holes in the wall right then when they remove them. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve. Thank you.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, welcome. Item 8.18, approve fence installations at Bradley and Rio Del Mar Elementary Schools. A report will be presented by Erlindo Fernandez, Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Facilities.
Good evening, President Holmes, Dr. Rodriguez, board members, cabinet. My name is Erlindo Fernandez, and I'm here to ask for the approval of the fencing installation at two sites, Bradley and Rio Del Mar Elementary Schools. This is a endowment funded project. The two proposals that came in are for Bradley School. It came in at $57,280,000. And if you can see on the map there, it shows you where we're going to be putting the ornamental fencing right in front of the school there with several gates, as you can see in the picture there. Second proposal was for Rio Del Mar Elementary School. That came in at $56,821 with $25. And as you can see in the picture there, that shows you where the ornamental fencing will be going in, and as well as the gates. And I'm asking for the approval of these two installation projects for these two schools at a total price of $114,125.
Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Any board discussion? Trustee Soto. Go ahead.
How are you doing?
Good, yourself?
Good, good. Are these the same style iron fences that have been going up around the district, like McQuitty and
Correct.
Minnie White and those?
Yeah.
Similar style? Okay.
Yeah,
we're
similar
keeping-
style.
We're keeping consistent with the look.
With panic bars.
Panic bars and all
everything.
that's being
Yep.
installed, ramps, ADA.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I had a question. On the images, I saw the red dashed line for the proposed new fencing. What about how are we enclosing the campus? Is there other fencing already?
Yes, right now we have we already approved another fencing project
Okay.
for the perimeter, for the back and the sides. So that's already awarded.
Okay.
And the the PO is in place. So due to the bad weather, he hasn't been able to get out there and put it in. Just everything's so wet right now. And equipment won't do too good out there. So as soon as he gets time, he'll be out there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion yet?
Not yet. I have one question.
Yes, go ahead.
What's a panic bar?
Panic hardware is the bar just like that one, that it's easy for special person to walk up and push it and open it. They don't have to grab a handle and push it down.
So if it's locked from the outside, people who are on the inside can still get out?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, emergency exit. That's a
About
requirement.
20 years ago, I got caught in the inside of the Aptos High track and field with my 2-year-old
Oh, no.
daughter, and I could not get out. I was locked in. It was
Yeah.
really fun. So yeah, I like the panic bar idea. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 8.19, approve Premier Builders Agreement for Diamond Technology Institute new indoor-outdoor learning spaces CTE project. Elliot, it's still you.
Good evening again. For this one, I'm asking the approval for Premier Builders Agreement for Diamond Technology Institute Outdoor Learning Space CTE project. This project came in at $517,431. It's a grant-funded project. On December 3rd, the district advertised the technology project. A mandatory bid walk was held on the 14th of December. One contractor was present. On January 3rd, the district received one sealed bid for the amount of $517,431. And I'm asking for the approval to move forward with the contract for the Premier Builders for the project.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers?
We do not.
Any board discussion? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to item 820, approve Sugimura Finney Architects Agreement for the Watsonville High School fencing project. Linda, it's still you.
Yeah, good evening. For this project, reaching out to Sugimura Finney Architects to get their help to have a design, a biddable spec document so we could go out to bid. Due to the amount of work that placing the fence for the ADA compliance, that is going to require for us to install that fence in there. So the estimated cost right now, and it's only estimated at 120. So the compensation for the architects to do the work, it's $6,000. So I'm asking for the approval to move forward with this architect so we could come up with the biddable plans.
Any public speakers?
None.
Board discussion? Trustee Dodd Jr.?
Is there a map that you could show us of any of the planning designs?
Yes, I would. I could send that out to you guys. I don't have it with me.
Can you tell us where the fencing's being planned?
On Maple and Martian Street, and along what is it, West Beach?
East Beach.
East Beach, yeah. So on Maple and Martian Street, there's going to be fencing throughout there to close it off. Mm-hmm. But due to the side pitch, grade or whatever, mm-hmm. It's not that easy to just go and install it. So we'd have to get an architect in there to help us out design it, just because of the accessibility point of it.
I just asked because when you talk about Maple, I know it's along the Spanish buildings, and I know there's been some concern along, the East Beach across the street from the Vets Hall, where the redwood tree is all along, yeah. And so
that's part of this project.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, just because there's a lot of concern, and so I just wanted the public to understand, because I hear what's going on. I live a block away, and I just wanted you to kind of explain, the fencing and get a little bit of more clarification. But
yeah,
thank you for saying that out loud for the people. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to support this project.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Last one. Item 8.21, approve 19-6 Architects Agreement for the Duncan Holbert School Kinder Play Structure Project.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening again. I'm here tonight to ask for the approval for the 19-6 Architects Agreement to do the Duncan Holbert school kindergarten play structure project. This project is estimated at $250,000. The compensation for the architect to work on, get our biddable documents in place, $26,200. So I'm asking for the board to please approve this architect agreement so we could move forward with this project.
Any public speakers?
We have none.
Any board discussion? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion.
I'll second. I do have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So the Kinder Place structure, we're having architects, 1906 architects. So what are they going to be designing?
There,
Because there's like, because I put in a structure, a play structure for kids with disabilities at Valencia, and I used a company called Boundless Playgrounds, and they're already completely architect for kids with autism, visual, other, mobility disabilities. So what will these people be doing?
they're gonna be designing the area, I guess how to place the structures and the ADA accessibility to it. So some of these areas that we don't have ADA accessibility paths to get to the play structure, so that's what they're coming in and designing that area around that
Well, that makes
area.
some sense. The structure that we put in, we had that rubberized surface, all on it, so people in their, adults and children in wheelchairs could just go right up onto the structure.
So part of it is also just the biddable drawings. So they're going to do the drawings that will then take out for bid. And those drawings will include the electrical and also the site work, so the groundwork underneath,
okay,
right?
got it.
So they're not just doing the structure itself, but they're doing the area around that structure.
Okay.
Which generally architects are about 10%. So that's why it's the amount that it is.
Okay, well, there's a first and second.
Yeah. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much for all your presentations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Moving on to item 8.22, expanded learning site service agreement with Eliad Group, and this report will be presented by Jennifer Littleton Bruno, our Director of Expanded Learning.
Good evening, President Holm, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Jen Littleton Bruno, the Director of Expanded Learning. I'm very pleased to share the site service contract agreement with you for Iliad Group. This is a new partnership for Expanded Learning. However, it's been a partnership with PVUSD's CTE program for some time, and so we're very excited to align our programming to existing programming for CTE. And so what this agreement is for is actually a 1.5 years of services starting this summer in our summer program for a bridge program for 8th graders going into 9th grade to offer them STEM education. So we're really excited to try and find a way to motivate and engage these students as they're going into high school and to prepare them for the CTE pathways. We will also next year be able to provide some parent-student engagement classes. So these will be bilingual family nights to promote students being able to use the Invention Convention. And so families learning how to build what the Invention Convention is and do these things together. And then we will expand this program the next summer of summer 24. So I ask that you please approve this contract.
Thank you. Any public speakers?
We have none.
Board discussion? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve. It's a great program.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, moving on to item 8.23. approve 2022 school accountability report cards. Our report will be presented by Lisa Aguirre, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education.
Thank you. Good evening, President Holm, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. I'm here this evening to present the school accountability report cards for our schools. Each year by February 1st, the board is to look at the school accountability report cards to make sure they are on the appropriate template, and then we will post them so that they are public, as well as having hard copies available to anybody from the public who would like to, who comes into the district office to look at them. The purpose of the school accountability report cards to provide information in regards to all of this about the schools to both families and to public. The contents, they are lengthy within the school accountability report cards. Some parts of the SARC are filled out by the school itself. Some parts are filled out by the district office, which are common, so for example, the textbooks. And part of the school accountability report cards are filled in directly by the CDE with information such as teacher salaries or also the number of teaching assignments, etc. For this year, part of the information that is provided by the CDE will not be available by February 1st, but it doesn't mean that we don't post them. We are to post them, and we don't have to bring them back to board once that information is available. The information will be directly uploaded to the SARCs through our provider that we use, which is Doc Tracking Services. Attached within your board packet are all of the schools, school accountability report cards, as well as the template that the state, it's an example that the state says to use. Every 3 years we must compare, and last year we did that where I actually showed to the board the template from the state. And so with that, I'm asking for the approval of the school accountability report cards to be posted online.
Thank you. We have no public speakers to this item, and President Holm needed to step out for a moment. So we'll bring it back to the board for any questions, comments, or a motion. A motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that. Any comments? I feel like Trustee DeSerpa has something, or she's just waiting for home. She doesn't trust me.
So we're not having any discussion tonight about the results that are in these report cards because they're old data.
Part of it is old data, part of it is new data. So the CASP reporting, which is the student pupil outcomes, Mr. Klappenbach, Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education, and I presented that information earlier this year. But it depends on which part of the SARC, and it is labeled depending on the part, whether it is from the prior year, the current year, or 2 years ago. So some of the fiscal information is from the 2021 school year, but it is labeled. So it is not consistent throughout the document. You will actually have to read each one where it says which year the data is from.
So under like systems inspected where there's repairs needed, like can I assume that a lot of those repairs have been completed already, or?
The pairs, yes. Those are ones that's where the county worked with, where the Williams came in to present the information on the school facilities. So those were from the reports that they did during that time. They also have worked with our maintenance and operations department for any major damages or things that need to be fixed immediately to have those items fixed. Yes. But that is the report that was presented at that meeting from Brian Wall from the county.
Okay, great. There's a first and second, yeah.
So we have a first and a second.
We do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our report and discussion items. Item 9.1. Our special education report. The report will be presented by Heather Gorman, our SELPA Director of Special Education, and Heather Klein, and Nick
Good evening. I have this on. Okay. Good evening, President Holm, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Heather Gorman, SELPA Director of Pajaro Valley Unified School District, and I'm here this evening with my administrative team. They just were announced, but you can wave again real quickly. Heather Morin, the Administrator of Social, Behavioral, and Intensified Programs. Nicole Salas-Cunha, Program Director, Elementary. Phil Menchaca, Program Director, Secondary, and Mark Wensler, Lead Behaviorist. So in preparation for this presentation, I wanted to start with the big picture. I believe you've seen this before. Our overall goal is to prepare students to be college, career, and life ready, as shown by our district's vision and target for success. This is our goal as for all students and not unique to special education. However, some of the students that struggle with special needs face unique needs, so much so that there has been an executive order on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workplace that speaks to adults with disabilities, and the mandate for our government to advance racial equity and support for underserved communities, which includes marginalized populations, such as adults with disabilities. The idea is to increase the number of individuals with disabilities in the workforce, creating inclusive and accessible workplaces for all people. This is a very important work, and it starts with us. So last year, the district created an LCAP goal specific to special education. The goal states, all school sites will prioritize the least restrictive environment for all students through the systematic implementation of evidence-based inclusive practices and are responsive to student diversity that encourage student-directed learning and that are developed through continuous collaboration across all staff, students, parents, and community partners. This goal directly links to students being college and career and life ready. We'll talk tonight about some of our intended outcomes and some of the work special education is doing. This is just a small piece of the pie. So why is there such a push for inclusion and LRE for students with disabilities? Besides the fact that inclusion is a right, not a privilege, we have to start with the assumption that all students can learn. But again, why LRE? Overall, the data speaks volumes. Students with disabilities acquire greater mastery of academic and social content in inclusive settings. That's why by the year 2025, the state performance indicator for LRE will be 70% of students with disabilities be educated in the general education classroom 80% or more of their school day. So our last LRE target was not met, but we were really close. The last target was 53% of students would be included for 80%. So our district was at 52.84%. That's really close, but as you can see by our new target, it's moved a lot, or it will be moving a lot. So LRE does not mean students being placed in general education, does not only mean students being placed in general education classrooms. It also means that students are educated in their community, no matter how significant their disability is. PVUSD is a single district SELPA. In 1977, the state required all districts and county offices to form special education local plan areas, SELPAs. In most cases, many districts in a region joined together to create multi-district SELPAs. However, in the early 90s, PVUSD became a single district SELPA to more effectively serve all of the students in this region. In 2002 and 2003, there was a grand jury investigation that looked into many things regarding the SELPAs in our area. One of the considerations was to consolidate Santa Cruz and Pajaro SELPAs. The report noted that this would result in a loss of local control that had benefited PVUSD students and would not be a cost savings to the district. I believe strongly in the idea that our district can support almost all of our students. As a single district SELPA, we provide intensified services for students who live in this area. This keeps students from Pajaro from having to travel hours on buses to county office programs and non-public schools, and the district from paying others to support our students. Some of these programs are noted here: RISE, Autism, Life Skills, and Post-Secondary. All of these programs require significant support from staff, including behaviorists, educationally related mental health services and clinicians, nurses, behavior technicians, and instructional assistants, just to name a few. Our autism classes have increased from 4 classrooms in 2017 to 12 in 2022. Even with these efforts, we do have a small number of students that we have in non-public schools. So that was our intensified program, but before I hand it off to my other staff to talk a little bit about our outcomes, I wanted to just talk a little bit about some of our mild moderate programs. So one of the programs that we have presented on in the past is our SIPs and Rewards program at the middle school level. On this slide, 2 of the teachers you see are Dawn Shipper and Jason Miller teaching SIPs. Dawn spent time learning how to use iPads to support the teaching of SIPs, and Jason is using PBIS strategies to support student engagement. Both teachers have been successful in teaching middle school students how to read. That's really important. The last teacher on this slide is a new teacher, Laura Hunter. She is using a modified chemistry curriculum to work with students in our mild, moderate, special day classes, giving them access to hands-on chemistry and standard-based instruction. So for our next slide, Heather Mooring's going to present some of our learning outcomes for the LCAP goal and an initiative that prioritizes LRE and evidence-based inclusive practices.
Hi. So as referenced earlier in the slides that Heather was sharing, part of the LCAP goal is to prioritize the least restrictive environment for all students through the systematic implementation of evidence-based practices, including inclusive practices that are based in evidence-based practices. So in alignment with this goal and in collaboration with an external facilitator with expertise in the area of implementation science and with a cross-section of individuals from our special education department, we conducted what's up there as the district capacity assessment. And what the district capacity assessment is an assessment in which you're objectively looking at how you select and then implement evidence-based practices for students in our district. And as a result of going through this assessment, we are in the process of developing a consistent way in which we do that, by which the way we select and then implement these evidence-based practices. The graphic that's displayed at the bottom there is pulled from the National Implementation Research Network. And it illustrates the essential components of effective implementation. As illustrated in the graphic, this is a multiplying formula. It's not an addition formula. And why that's important is because each element of this is required to be partially in place in order to reach that desired outcome of socially significant outcomes. Without that, we aren't able to reach that goal. And it's important that we consider each of those ingredients when we're talking about which evidence-based practices we're shooting to implement. So earlier, Heather shared that there are some outcomes that we're looking at specific to this LCAP goal. One area that we're looking at is chronic absenteeism. As you can see from the data from 21-22, we have some significant room for improvement, although this is pulling in both excused and unexcused absences, which we know COVID has impacted. In addition to that, though, we know that we've seen increased reporting that this is in part due to some social, emotional, and behavioral concerns, which our staff are feeling the effect of. As you can see in the data, there's not a huge discrepancy between the overall chronic absenteeism rate and the absenteeism rate of students with IEPs. And based on this information, we haven't gone to this venture alone, but we've been collaborating with our Student Services Department to make sure that our students with IEPs are accessing the wellness process that's in place at each of the sites and have the benefit of receiving those resources in those locations. In addition, we meet as IEP teams to look at what else we can leverage to support these students with the exceptional needs. While we still have a high percentage of chronic absenteeism and our desired outcome is much lower, we are starting to see students come back to school who had been missing school for quite some time. The other indicator that I'm talking about is the suspension rates. So in 1920, you can see that we had a 10% increase in students with IEPs who'd been suspended at least one time in a given year, which is pretty high. Students who were suspended multiple times were only counted once. Since the time that data was collected, that was a little while ago now, we've had a lot of efforts that we've put into place as it relates to PBIS at each tier of the pyramid. And this year, we've specifically focused in collaboration again with our Student Services Department and focusing on our Tier 2 interventions and building the toolkit with our school psychologists and social emotional counselors and providing training and support in those areas. We have also, of course, continued to provide at the highest level of therapeutic services with our mental health clinician and behavior services with our behaviorists. And we have provided some wraparound intensive services for our students who have the most significant needs in these areas. Through this enhanced and integrated social, emotional, and behavioral support system, we are seeing students begin to access learning that, again, we hadn't seen since we came back from COVID, and we're starting to see students be able to access the learning they need in the least restrictive environment. I'm going to now transition to Phil, who's going to talk to you about graduation rates as it relates to LRE.
There we go. Yes, high school graduation rates. Our goal this year is to try to increase the high school graduation rates. We have set high standards and expectations for all of our student scholars, and we provide all of the necessary courses to meet the A to G requirements for state and university college entrance requirements. These courses represent the coursework that will prepare students for all of their challenges in college. Our students need to earn a total of 220 credits to meet the requirements for graduation, and the coursework is challenging, and for some of our students, and especially those with exceptional needs, it can be overwhelming. We currently have many students, special education students, who are credit deficient, which means that they may not have enough credits to stay on track for graduation. This means that students have failed one or more classes and have not yet made those up. So our department is engaging in multiple measures to ensure that our students have the best opportunity to reach their graduation goals. And so we are working with students and families directly. Our staff has met personally with families to discuss all of the requirements and expectations for students, and also options for students who maybe aren't on track. And so we talk about credit recovery, we talk about alternative placements if needed, we talk about adult education for our students who are going to be 18 within the school year, we talk about GED prep, and we talk about career paths. We also look at equitable grading practices, and as a district we have begun to introduce grading for equity. We have a team of high school SPED teachers who have already begun participating in the equitable grading practices, which introduces philosophical views and practical strategies that focus on equity. We're also supporting students with credit recovery, again, by meeting with families, making sure students are aware and on track, and how they can recover some of their credits, whether it be in school through credit recovery, or even participating in classes at Cabrillo, for example. We also use all of our programs that would meet very specific needs of some of our students through our alternative programs in charter schools, both internal and working with the county. And those students, we make recommendations for placement, and it provides opportunities for credit reduction, credit recovery, and specialized or unique programs that are specific to students' needs, maybe smaller class sizes. And for some, it's just a safer environment. They feel safer. We also engage in cross-departmental collaborations, working with educational services, student services, curriculum department, and academic counselors, and all of other educational partners. So this is an ongoing team effort, and we want to increase our graduation rates every year. And so we will continue to work on this daily. And so now I would like to turn it over to Nicole. All right.
I'm going to share with you the outcomes for our littlest learners as it relates to our LCAP goal, and it's the expansion on the continuum of services at our preschool level to provide more access to our community, our school, and their home environment. We have these 3 programs that we've been continuing to work on and collaborate with community partners. The first one up there at the top is our inclusion program with Encompass Head Start. We have moved from what last year was 1 class with a 5-to-1 ratio, so that's 5 students for 1 instructional assistant from our SELPA department, to 2 classes with a 4-to-1 ratio. And that school is located near Duncan Holber on the Rolling Hills campus, so we have a team of specialists that can easily collaborate and provide services and consultation and work with the team there at the Head Start to meet the needs of the kids there in that program. And then in our state preschool, we have restructured a little bit to utilize our staff support to offer more opportunities for kids to mainstream in groups where they're ready for targeted blocks of time with their gen ed peers. And this allows for kids to access both the AM and the PM sessions, as opposed to having just 12 spots in a state preschool setting. So now we can offer more kids the opportunity to spend some time in increasing their least restrictive environment. And that's not just at Duncan Holbert Rolling Hills campus anymore. That also moved on to our landmark elementary preschool programs. And then the last one I'm sharing with you is our pilot to scale of pushing out our speech and language therapist to the community preschools. This started in collaboration with our state preschool and Head Start and Migrant Seasonal Head Start, identifying preschools that have a concentrated amount of IEPs. And our speech therapists go to the preschool to provide those services, as opposed to the parents having to go pick up their child, bring them to a centralized location like Duncan Holbert, and then they potentially could miss services or parents miss work. And more importantly, we're really targeting that service in the context of preschool, a preschool setting. And then as we continue to collaborate with families and preschools and our community partners, these opportunities will continue to grow. And that's the final outcome.
So thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole and team. So quickly to wrap up, our special services focus has been on the LCAP goal that prioritizes LRE and evidence-based inclusive practices with outcomes of increased attendance, increased graduation rates, decreased suspension rates, and increased achievement levels. We have a lot of work to do in all of these areas and have just mentioned some of what is being done. We continue to move the needle towards improvement. We believe that all students can learn and that students with disabilities must be guaranteed equal opportunity to become contributing members of society. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like we do have some public speakers.
We do. We have 6 speakers to this item, so I'll call out the names.
Hold on one second. Point of order, just because of the time. I would like to make a motion to extend our meeting till midnight, just because we have another presentation after this. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2. Go ahead with the public speakers.
Okay, so we have 6 public speakers, and I will call out the names of 3 at a time. If you could come up. Chris Thomas, Heather Pint, and Alex Barber.
You want me to go? All right, I'm going to go first. So they were talking a lot about behaviorists, and we are all your behaviorists here. So my name's Chris Thomas, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst, or BCBA. Within PVUSD, we are sometimes called behaviorists, or sometimes called behavior specialists, but BCBA is the formal title in the field of applied behavior analysis. And what that means is that our international certification board recognize that I and people like me and my colleagues have all completed a master's degree in this field, that we have completed 2,000 hours of a professional apprenticeship under the supervision of existing BCBAs, and that we have passed the BCBA exam, which is a 4-hour beast of a test that 34% of test takers fail on their first attempt. The California bar, for reference, is only slightly harder, with 38% failing. In my job at this district, I have a supervisory role, and I am considered classified management, but I also spend most of my time in the field working directly with students and staff. I work in the RISE Academy, which you heard mentioned earlier. This is the district's K through 12 program for students with severe social, emotional, and behavioral needs. I serve 3 different sites, 5 different classrooms, and approximately 40 of the district's most challenging and needy students. A typical day involves demonstrating for staff live and in the moment the appropriate way to de-escalate a volatile child. It involves debriefing with teachers about which behavioral strategies are going well and which need improvement. It involves developing individualized support plans for chronically unresponsive students. And often it involves being insulted, cursed at, screamed at, kicked, hit, and spit on. But it always involves persevering and continuing to support the students we care so much about. In addition to this role, I'm also one of the district's crisis prevention trainers. I also monitor students placed in public schools, non-public schools. I conduct assessments, I write behavior plans, and I attend many, many meetings. I love my job, and I hope to stay here for the foreseeable future, and I also hope to see the district hire more behaviorists, for which the need is apparent and I hear about very often. I worry, though, that the motivation to accept and keep a behaviorist position in this district is limited right now by the lack of upward mobility in our pay scale. I would love to wake up one day and hear that this concern has been remedied, and that the future behaviorists in this district can rest a little easier, that we can feel good about remaining in our positions, and that we can look forward to a brighter future with PVUSD. Thank you very much. I yield back the balance of my time.
Yes. Okay. Hi, all. My name is Heather Pint, and I've worked within PVUSD for the past 20 years. I've been a behaviorist as a PVUSD employee for the past 6 years. I feel like our title as a behaviorist within the district often gets confused with other roles that support behavior. However, my professional title is a board-certified behavior analyst at BCBA. I have been a BCBA for over 12 years. Similar to school psychologists and speech and language pathologists, BCBAs are required to have a master's degree. In addition, 2,000 hours of supervised field work are needed prior to sitting for our certification exam. And ongoing BCBAs are required to maintain continuing education units, including a chunk of units prioritized towards ethics. At Rio Del Mar Elementary, I coach and train in 2 SDC autism classrooms and many general education classrooms with our inclusion students. This includes supporting 4 special education teachers, numerous general education teachers, and 11 behavior technicians in the use of evidence-based practices for the 38 students on the autism spectrum that we serve. Outside of Rio, I have 4 additional individual students at 3 separate sites. When one hears classified management, which is where the behaviorist position is currently categorized, they think of a desk job pushing paper. As a behaviorist, my day-to-day responsibilities, in addition to training and program coaching, include responding to emergency behavior situations and ensuring staff are using de-escalation and trained safety care procedures, observing and conducting behavior assessments, writing and overseeing behavior plans with Tier 3 interventions, and in general, in-the-moment triage support. Often my days like today, including responding to staffing support needs before 7 a.m., eating my lunch while squeezing in a meeting, and getting well beyond my 10,000 steps before the end of the school day. We are the boots on the ground. After hearing the report that was just presented by special education, I encourage you to think about how the behaviorist department fits into the long-term infrastructure within our district. In addition, Trustee Holmes, I invite you to join me at Rio Del Mar for a life in the day of a behaviorist. Thank you, and thank you for putting the perimeter around Rio.
Let's see here. I'll tell her. Hello, my name is Alex Barber, and I'm an itinerant behaviorist with PVUSD, currently working my 4th school year with SELPA. As an itinerant behaviorist, or behavior specialist as we were once called across the district, I work with 20 plus special education students ranging from 1st grade to the post-secondary program across 11 school sites within the district. I provide behavior consultation services that are written into individual education plans, or IEPs as they're commonly called, for students who have been assessed to need Tier 3 level behavior support. Behavior consultation services also include working with and training the staff that serve these students, such as teachers, behavior technicians, instructional aides, site administration, school psychologists, and related service providers like speech therapists and occupational therapists. Beyond working individually with students and their staff on site, I also write behavior intervention plans for students, conduct functional behavior assessments, lead safety care crisis management trainings to staff, and be on call for any behavior-related emergency that may arise with our students throughout the school day. I am also classified management supervising behavior technicians and instructional aides assigned to work with students on my caseload. My hope in speaking with you today is that you will now know that I and my fellow 8 behaviorist team members are out there providing support to our students. We are highly trained with master's degrees and board certified behavior analysts, BCBA certifications, which require 2,000 hours of supervised fieldwork just to take the board exam. We maintain our certification by completing 32 hours of continuing education units every 2 years. We provide necessary services that school districts are legally required to provide to students, and we are in demand across the Bay Area and nationwide for these reasons. Should you be more interested in what we do and more specifically what I do, I invite the board members that fall into the trustee areas that include Aptos High, Aptos Junior High, Bradley Elementary, Diamond Tech Institute, Freedom Community School, McQuitty Elementary, Ohlone Elementary, Pacific Coast Charter School, Pajaro Valley High School, Valencia Elementary, or the Watsonville Post-Secondary Program to please come experience what my workday looks like working with PVUSD. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers, Jocelyn Huffaker, Heather Waltz, and I think it's, is it Maria Stone? Maria Stone.
Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Huffaker. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, most commonly referred to here in PVUSD as a behaviorist. I've worked here in SELPA for 6 years, and when people ask what I do for a living, it's not uncommon for them to say, what is a BCBA? A board certified behavior analyst is a master's level professional teaching replacement behaviors to individuals whose behavior prevents them from participating in daily aspects of life. Similar to a school psychologist or a speech pathologist, behaviorists require master's degree, supervised field work. For BCBAs, that's 2,000 hours before we're required to sit for an exam. Within PVUSD, we're fortunate to have a wide range of public servants who support our students' behavioral needs. Behavior techs, or BTs, are the classroom staff that we couldn't live without, who implement the strategies in the classrooms under the supervision of a BCBA. While I'm considered a classified manager, my job entails very little time in an office or at a desk. My day typically starts by receiving text messages as early as 6:30 a.m. related to coordinating adequate support to keep our students safe within the classroom. Later, you'll find me in one of our autism classes, either at Duncan Holbert or Radcliffe Elementary School. Providing training and coaching to the BTs who support our learners with the highest needs, often including modeling strategies to de-escalate dangerous and aggressive behaviors. I lead monthly trainings and collaboration meetings with staff to provide the most effective and evidence-based practices to our students with autism. I conduct behavior assessments and write behavior intervention plans for our students with who need the highest level of support. Unfortunately, unlike school psychologists and speech pathologists, the room for growth here in PVUSD is limited for behaviorists. Nor do we have the benefit of union representation, but we're a small and mighty group of 7. No BCBA in PVUSD has received a cost of living or merit increase during my time in PVUSD. Thank you for listening.
Hello again, Heather Waltz. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst, and I served in that role from 2016 to 2021. I want to share with you some notable successes. Within PVUSD, a BCBA designed and supported implementation of a procedure that taught a 16-year-old, 200-pound nonverbal male to grab his talker and communicate an internal pain rather than bang his head on hard surfaces to the point of significant self-injury. Additionally, that BCBA was able to make a correlation between pollen count and increased frequency in head banging, and created a plan that replaced the head banging with more functional communication, asking for Claritin. Another success within PVUSD, a BCBA designed and supported implementation of a plan that taught a parent to transition their child through their morning routine and onto a school bus, and then attend a full day of school after the child had not attended the school for 3 months. The student has consistently attended school for 4 consecutive weeks. The student that was headbanging has gone without headbanging for 36 consecutive weeks. So the list of successes goes on, and I wish I had time to share more with you. As many have stated, the qualifications that go into becoming a BCBA are very challenging, and they are one of the most misunderstood professions in education. However, they're one of the most highly trained professionals supporting our students with the most intensified needs. They also carry a ton of responsibility. The interventions created and managed by BCBAs are the reason many of our students are able to attend school and function in their learning environment. I currently am not a BCBA. After 6 years, I met the maximum earning potential and I transitioned to another department. So I encourage you all to learn more about the profession and spend a day in the life with me, as Dr. Rodriguez did one time. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I mostly wanted to listen to the SALPA presentation, but I heard something earlier that really shocked me, so I just wanted to advocate for my colleagues. So earlier I heard that the ECE teachers make a little over $15 an hour. So that was shocking and disappointing. Before I became a school psychologist, I was a preschool teacher, 6 years for state preschool and then 6 years for Head Start. And my first year was 26 years ago. So 26 years ago, my starting pay was $17 an hour. That was 17 years ago. And then when I ended 12 years later as a Head Start teacher, my pay was $32 an hour.
Is your comment related to the presentation?
Well, they mentioned preschool teachers as being as being part of the LCAP goal. So I do feel like I'm getting there. I think it's part of it. I would appreciate it if you allowed me to speak. Thank you. So, and this was in the Central Valley where it's a lot cheaper to live. The EC teachers are just as valuable to our students' educational journey as the K through 12 teachers. The importance of early childhood education can't be overstated. They help lay the foundation for education, wonder, discovery, and cognitive and social development. They are just as important as the K through 12 teachers in the students' educational journey. So I would like to ask the board and the Board of Trustees to advocate for this important but all forgotten group by challenging the district's negotiation offer, as you can see by the presentation, that they are part of the goal. So they are the staff members that will be helping in the preschool program. So thank you. Oh, and I also want to say, since I have 5 seconds, a shout out to the BCBAs. They are worth their weight in gold. They're the people that we call when we don't know what else to do. Thank you.
President Holm, that was the last of our public speakers on this item.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board? Trustee Dodge Jr.?
All right, I have a couple questions. Heather, since you're the head of SELPA, I have a couple questions that I've heard the last few years that I've been here. I haven't been here that long, but I have my ear to the ground and I hear a lot of questions and concerns. One concern is, you know, your presentation didn't really mention anything of working with school nurses, and a lot of school nurses are the first people to respond to certain issues. Why were school nurses part of this presentation, or were they left out?
So I work directly with the school nurses, and they are a big part of special services and what we do. I mentioned them briefly, I think, in the presentation. There's a lot that wasn't in this presentation because we had limited time. So I can't, you know, go through everything, but that doesn't mean that the people that I didn't mention directly are not important parts of our program.
Oh, I just, you know, it's a concern that I hear a lot, and so I just wanted to bring that up for the school nurses. Another question that I have is, how often do you personally visit?
And can I, just
Yeah.
one thing too, is one of the things that we do for the school nurses is to have a resolution specifically for them yearly too. So I do come and speak to them about them.
My next question is, how often do you personally visit the classrooms?
Well, this week, yesterday, I think I was at 4 different classrooms. So I try to get out to classrooms as much as I can during the week, you know, just depending on the day. So I've been out to like 5 or 6 different middle schools this week, looking at their SIPs and rewards programs.
I'm pretty sure you hear, you know, a lot of complaints, and so when you hear about complaints, you know, the things that you're able to talk about, like, why do you think we receive so many complaints about SELPA?
That's an interesting question, and I think one of the things is like when I don't know if you were going to ask what I do regarding complaints. You know, I tend to go out to the sites. I went to Duncan Holbert this week because there was an issue that came up, but I don't see it as like we have more complaints than other departments or other places. I think things come up, we handle them as they come up, and then we move on.
Another question I have is, I see you brought your staff today, and there's at least 4 of them. How large is your staff at SELPA?
Total? So like with all of our classified and certificated staff, it's 300, I think. I was just trying to think. I'd have to look to get the exact number, but we have 150 classified staff, and then we have 100 and some teachers, and then we have our nurses, our school psychologists, our DIS providers, SLPs.
No. Well, yeah, it's just.
I mean, did you?
No, it's just because this is the first time where I've seen 4 people from SELPA show up here and present. So it was just a question.
Yeah. Last year we had about the same number of people that presented. Yeah.
Going back to the report where you were talking about the County of Education.
The what part of it?
The like how.
Oh. That one?
So between 2002 and 2003, it says PVUSD decides not to consolidate with the Santa Cruz because we would lose local control?
Yes.
How would we lose local control?
So if we consolidated with another SELPA, then that SELPA would actually be the one supporting this district. Instead of having a single district SELPA, where I'm the SELPA director, we have our directors here, we don't have to report to other districts or counties.
So if we gave the SELPA department back to the county, what would be like the financial gain or loss?
I don't have the exact numbers for that. I know that in this report, they said that it would not be a benefit, you know, like that it wouldn't be something that would mean that we would lose money well, I'm saying it wrong, sorry. So it would be cost neutral, or we would be paying more if we did
So
something like that.
PVSD would be paying the county?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
yeah.
And my last question is,
And the county, and then wherever, like the multi-district SELPAs, I'm sorry to interrupt, sorry.
oh, no, I just,
They actually get all of the money that comes from the state and federal government, and then they decide how much each LEA gets. So there's also a cost formula. So it's not under our control, it's under other people's control.
and about probably like before the school year started in August, I heard a concern at EA Hall that you wanted to increase the number of special ed students without increasing any type of help. Is that true, more or less?
No, we did increase one class there, and we staffed it with a teacher and 3 aides. Was that correct? EA Hall, I'm thinking of Cesar Chavez, sorry. We didn't increase. I was thinking we added a class to Cesar Chavez Middle
I
School.
think he's referring to LRE, so least restrictive environment. So
Oh, okay.
putting more students within a general education classroom.
Is that, so?
More or less, yeah.
So, for years, it's been in every student's IEP to be included in general education classrooms. So we didn't do that just at the beginning of the school year at EA Hall for any reason. It was something that we do every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And if students need support, we send support in with them. If they can go independently, which is always our hope, we send them in independently. We collaborate with teachers. We give the teachers an education plan so that they know what the student needs in their general education classroom, so that they can get accommodations, modifications. There's usually a bit of a training that goes along with that, or the RS teacher will collaborate and meet with the general education teacher. So it's not that we send students in without giving support. We often give a lot of support for those students.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Trustee DeSerpa?
Heather, thank you for the great report, and thank you to all the staff that are here tonight. I really appreciate deeply what you do. I have a disabled daughter who gets special services from Regional Center and IHSS and the works. So I know firsthand sometimes how difficult it is to have a kid with a special need. My first husband was a school psychologist, so I got to hear a lot of stories and hear all about his job every day. And for many years, I worked in the NICU at Dominican, where I made all the regional center referrals and early start referrals. So I really appreciate you all very, very much. It's a continuum of care, and it takes a very special kind of person to do the work that you're doing. And this is great. And you know, Heather, since you took the helm of our SELPA as a SELPA director, I've seen so many improvements. And so with Dr. Rodriguez and yourself, I just want to thank you for your leadership and for having a wonderful group of administrators working with you that have really improved services in our district for kids.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you all for the presentation, for the comments, et cetera. It's very informative, and I appreciate the work that all of you all are doing.
Thank you.
All right. All right, moving on to item 9.2, overview of the McKinney-Vento Act, review of PVUSD SIT data and supports, presented by Benjamin Slider, our Coordinator of Student Services.
Good evening, Board President Holm, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez, and PVUSD community. I'm Ben Slider, Coordinator of Student Services. It's my honor to present tonight how PVUSD serves our students with McKinney-Vento status. I'll be sharing a brief overview of the McKinney-Vento Act, share some data at the county and district level, and then provide some information on how our Healthy Start program is able to support our McKinney-Vento students. I have control? Okay. So just to go through this quickly, some of the provisions of the McKinney-Vento Act. At the core, it's about making sure that our students have equal opportunity and equal access to their peers. As an ELA, our job is to remove those barriers, to make sure that they have those opportunities, and to also actively identify new students that may qualify as McKinney-Vento youth. In addition to that, we need to be making sure that we are helping out our children, students, youth, family with receiving referrals around health, dental, mental health, housing, substance abuse, and other appropriate services. Some of the rights for our students to keep in mind is that our McKinney-Vento students, usually the best interest for the student is stability with where they're able to go to school. And so when possible, we try to keep our students in their school of origin. They have a right to immediate enrollment into school. So that means that they don't need to necessarily have all that paperwork in order to enroll. Transportation to their origin of school of origin. They have the right to partial credits. And also we need to make sure that we educate our youth that they may qualify for AB 1806 credit reduction, which means that all that they would need to do is satisfy the state's requirements for graduation at the high school level. If we go a little bit deeper, who is considered a McKinney-Vento student? So it's defined as an individual who lacks a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. These situations are defined as double up. So an example could be a unaccompanied youth who might be couch surfing at a friend's house. Shelters are another. So any sort of like temporary housing. Then we have unsheltered individuals as well. And these are typically dwellings that are not really intended to be permanent housing. So parks, tents, campers, automobiles, and then also hotels and motels. Some of the impact of students who are experiencing homelessness. In a recent study, the U.S. Department of Education estimated that there's approximately 1.3 million children under the age of 6 experiencing homelessness in 2018 and 19. And only 7% of these children are enrolled in early childhood programs. Over half of the children living in federally funded homeless shelters are 5 years old or younger, and in many cases, youth that are this young, infants to babies that are experiencing homelessness, do show significant slower development than their housed peers. So something to keep in mind about our youth and the impact there. For other older students, what we see is poor attendance to chronic attendance and tardiness, absenteeism rates, chronic absenteeism, higher rates of suspension and expulsions, and lower graduation rates. Shifting to county data, it's a little bit harder to see here, but the reason why I want to share this is to kind of get an idea of where PVUSD is compared to the rest of the county. So this is last year's data, 21-22, of all of the reports that went to the County Office of Education. And there was a total of 2,857 youth that were considered McKinney-Vento. As you can see with the bar graph, the higher number are the elementary, K through 5. Then it dips a little bit with middle school and then rises a little bit more with high school. If we take a look at the numbers as broken down into districts, you can see that Pajaro Valley Unified School District had, and this is last year, had a total of 2,464 individuals. And so these are individuals infant to 12th grade. So this is even identifying students, or identifying youth that may not be in school yet. And as you can see, when you do like a quick comparison, we can see that Pajaro Valley has a significant higher number. Looking at this next graph, you can see the 3-year kind of readout of the number of students that have been identified as McKinney-Vento. I would have titled this differently if I thought about it. This also includes infant to 12th grade. So these are including our siblings. They could be anywhere from 1 to 4. Some of them may be in some of our child development programs, and some of them may not be. And as you can see, there is a steady decline there over the number of years. One thing to keep in mind, these numbers represent the entire year. So in 2021, it was 2832, but those were numbers that were reported at the end of the year. Likewise, 21, 22, those are numbers that are reported at the end of the year. We're only halfway through the year right now, so we may not have all of the numbers. So 2196 is our active students that we have identified as being McKinney-Vento as of now, as of 1/17. These numbers don't include youth that have gone through the reconcile process. So our Healthy Start registration techs will make phone calls to last year's list of students and briefly talk with families and ask them what their housing situation is. If a housing situation improves over the summer or before the start of the school year, then they are no longer active as McKinney-Vento. If their housing situation improves sometime during the current school year, they remain on that list. One other piece of data with this is that there are 95 families that our Healthy Start registration techs have tried over and over and over again to communicate and get in contact with. And they represent about 206 students within those 95 families. They're still trying to get their status. So that's data that we're still kind of waiting to receive on that. I'll just go back one more. We do see this decline here. Over the last 3 years, we did see a decline in our enrollment as well. So back in 2020, 2021, we're about 19,887 students. That dropped to 19,329 in the 21-22 year. And right now, I pulled the numbers for this presentation. We're at 17,986. So we did have decline enrollment as well over those 3 years. These are some of the housing situations of all of our students. Now, when we look at this, there are 1,023 housing conditions, situations. So those could be family units, it could be students living in a housing situation. When we look at that, it's consistent with what we've seen before in last year in that the majority of them are double up students. So it's maybe multiple families, maybe it's an unaccompanied youth. It could be a number of different things. And as you can see, the numbers go down there. I chose to include foster youth in there because our Healthy Start registration technicians also serve our foster youth as well. Looking at the attendance rates for this first semester, so the first half of the school year, for our McKinney-Vento students and our foster youth, you can see TK5 is about 90%. 6 through 8 is approaching 90%, 98.36. 9 through 12 is about 90.3%. And so all of them is about 98. So it's hovering around that 90 percentile or 90%. If we go back to all of our students, so let's compare to all of our students. I could break it down to grade like this because I had the students' IDs. Here, the best that I could do is break it down by schools. So then what I did is I chose to lump them into their like schools. So as you can see across the board, the data is also hovering around that 90% as well. It's as high as 91.47 for the K through 8 school there, but really hovering around that 90%, a little bit up, above, and below. And just note that the This is done in 4 attendance periods, so the end of the 4th attendance period is 12:14, so like 2 days less. So it's comparable. Looking at grade point average for our McKinney-Vento status students in foster youth, 6th through 8th grade. This is where I could actually get grades out of Synergy. It averages about 2.8%. Now, if you looked at the raw data, we have students that are earning 4.0s, and we have students that are earning far less than that. So this is just an average. For our 9th through 12, it's 2.28. So that is consistent with C average if we're looking at those students. If we look at all of our students' grade point average, so 6 through 8, it's 2.84 for 6 through 8, and 2.62 9 through 12. And so it's still consistent. Now, it's a little bit higher C level compared to the previous graph, but there's still, the average is around C. The highest grade that I saw the highest grade point average that I saw was a 4.5, and the lowest was a 0.0 when I looked at all of the grade point averages for the second quarter. So let's transition over to how our school district helps our students out. And we do that with a program called Healthy Start. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. The other thing that we do is we try to actively identify students that are McKinney-Vento status. And then we also have our wellness center that not only serves all of our students, but also serves students that might be within homes that are students of transition and McKinney-Vento status. So as always, we want to center it back to the core of what we're trying to do, and that is all students being college, career, and life ready, always centering it back to that same goal. And then we transition over to the Healthy Start vision and mission. So I am going to read these out because I think it's important. We seek to improve the health of children and their families through a broad network of partners throughout Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. We develop collaborative systems and links among participants, facilitate communication, and focus on attention on data and outcomes. And as our mission, which we just updated in our last collaboration meeting together, we share PVUSD's goals of improving academic achievement through improved health, increased access to health and social services, and creation of safety nets and supports structures for at-promise students and families. And so we replaced at-risk with at-promise, which is a more asset-oriented term to use at this point. So some of the things that the Healthy Start registration techs do to help with the identification process. And that starts July 1st. And so part of what they do is they reconcile last year's lists with the new list of students that they know that they're going to have. And part of that reconciliation, that reconcile process, is making those phone calls. So calling up families. If they can't call if they don't get a hold of them the first time, they leave a message, they try again, and they try again. They try emails, and they also send postcards as well. And so of those 206 students that I talked about before, the 95 families, they're still actively trying to reach out to them. Some of the things that we will try to do moving forward is make sure that we're sharing our lists with sites, so our sites can also help with that communication process as well. Annual visits to assigned schools, sites to distribute updated McKinney-Vento posters and Healthy Start brochures and provide McKinney-Vento education to staff. An important piece that site staff need to know is if we do have a family that's trying to enroll their student in the school, that they have a right to immediate enrollment at that school, even though they may not have all the documentation to be able to do that. And so making sure that staff are aware of what those rights are is a very important thing. Everything gets inputted into MARS, and I'm going to show you some of the data that's out of their points of service that they had in just a second. Are we done? Is that it? Okay. They run data and participate in site wellness meetings. These are some of the other points of services that they provide. So they work with the transportation department to get transportation. We also provide Metro bus passes. We take students shopping through Ross. They provide backpack supplies, adopt a family holiday program, provide hygiene products, help with insurance enrollment and renewals, help with enrollment and renewals with CalFresh, referrals to PVUSD after-school programs like tutoring, family advocacy with PVUSD and community agencies, and attend outreach events in PVUSD like back-to-school nights. This is a pie chart of kind of like a point of all of the kind of points of service that they've done. So when we look at all of them, it's over 17,000 entries into MARS that we have. And so those are anywhere from helping families and getting them, helping families and registering and giving information around free and reduced lunch, providing backpacks, school supplies, food bank, CalFresh, and so on and so forth. So, and this is just kind of the raw data, including our new program that we have here, which is the SIT laundry token program as well. So we have some families that are participating in that now. So moving forward, what we're going to do to help with identifying students is we're going to incorporate a housing questionnaire at the beginning of the school paperwork to increase identification of students. We want to increase our concerted effort to provide Healthy Start eligible parents and guardians of PVUSD children 0 through 4 information about PVUSD's child development program, share specific data out to sites, including chronic absenteeism, and then also work with our site counselors to be able to our school counselors will work with sites at the site level, especially around wellness teams, to be able to help identify site kind of interventions that might be able to help with supporting our students. I'm sorry that I went over by a couple minutes.
Thank you, Ben. Do we have any public speakers to this item?
We do not.
Do we have any board comments? First of all, I wanted to say I really appreciate the you giving the data ranges and the comparisons. That context that provides is so important when we're in data analysis. So thank you. You answered my question about whether the McKinney-Vento is proportional to our declining enrollment. So thank you for including that context as well. And I was curious, like, how long does the situation need to be in effect for a student to be considered within the McKinney-Vento guidelines? I was just thinking about, like with, our most recent crisis, like where, a family may be in a shelter, but, it may not be long-term.
Right. So we did just a little bit of data. I'm going to throw down some numbers here. So between December 16th and January 19th, which is kind of that spot of when all those storms happened, we had about 33 new enrollments of students. Part of that was because of the storms that had happened, and specifically, without mentioning names, we know that there was loss of home, loss of being able to live where they're at, that allowed them to qualify. Most of the new enrollments were not because of loss of home, but because of other situations that they were experiencing that was outside of the storms happening anyway. I think what happened is all of the messaging that we sent out, so stuff from me through Remind, through emails, the stuff that came out through the district kind of mass messaging, all of that was a lot of information that went out to folks, and they knew by looking at maybe the flyer that I can reach out to the wellness center, then I can get connected over to a Healthy Start technician, and then that screening happens, and then that family was enrolled. And so that 33 is 23 new families that we have enrolled during that time. The majority of the inquiries, those were just the enrollments. The majority of the inquiries, when families reached out, and then they end up talking with a Healthy Start registration technician, they were looking for discounts on hotels. They were concerned because they had loss of wages because of the storm, rental assistance, clothing needs, and food. And so our Healthy Start registration technicians were able to provide additional information or refer them to the Wellness Center for food or maybe some other distribution sites as well.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Great presentation. Do we have any housing coalitions or housing groups partnered with Healthy Start so that these families can be referred directly into housing?
I'm sorry. Yes, our Healthy Start registration technicians do have a list of outside agencies that they can refer partners to. We do use a NowPow system, and so if those third-party agencies are part of our NowPow system, then they can make those immediate referrals over to those organizations. Yeah.
I think it's more of a comment than a question. Benjamin, the slide you had with the 2020, 21, 2021, 22, 22, 23 school year, where you had the numbers of how many students and we saw it going down, and then you spoke to what our student population was. I just for me, a numbers person, right? I'd like to see the number of what the student population was in each one of those years too. That would have been helpful to see it, but also like to see that in percentages, right? Because a numbers person, like when we see things, right, Clint, in percentages, it tells so much more of a story. So that would be helpful, and I don't know if it, maybe we could still get that somehow.
I can share those percentages with you right now, if you would like. I do have them, so yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
That's fine, but that,
okay.
yeah, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Thank you, and that's my only comment.
We'll give it to you.
Great. Any other comments? Thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. Good night.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to our consent agenda, our routine items that come before the board. Do we have any public speakers for consent agenda?
None.
Are there any items that the board wishes to defer? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The vote passes 6-0. And let's see, do we have, so we don't need item 12. Are there any items to report from closed session?
Yes, I do have some. Sorry, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Get caught up. Okay, so to report out of closed session on closed session item 2.2, I move to approve the certificated personnel report as presented by district administration on January 25th, 2023, with 24 and 8 additional action items.
Can I get a second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
On closed session item 2.3, I move to approve the classified personnel report as presented by district administration on January 25th, 2023, with 34 and 10 additional action items.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Closed session item 2.6, Keenan claim 6000954. The board voted 5 to 5. Let's see if I'm going to get this right. 501. Got it. To approve a settlement identified in closed session item. And we already voted on that there, 501. Sorry. And then I have one announcement. The Pajaro Valley Unified School District is pleased to announce the selection of Anna Lenore as a new assistant principal at Watsonville High School. Anna has been serving students since 2015 as a counselor and an administrator. Anna is a product of PVUSD and graduated from Pajaro Valley High School. She holds a bachelor's degree from UC Santa Barbara in Spanish with a minor in education and psychology. Additionally, she received a PPS credential in May of 2016. She also holds a master's degree in education from San Jose State and is currently working on her doctorate through San Francisco State University in the area of educational leadership. We are excited to have a former student return to PVSD in the administrative role. Go Wildcats, and I'm not sure she's here. Oh, okay. And that is all I have to report out of closed session.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be on February 8th, and the meeting is adjourned at 10:45 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Danny, did you get one? Danny?
No, we did. They need to.
Okay.